Says Beds police will be stepping up patrols in Jewish and Muslim communities. And a Hertfordshire taxi driver will be sentenced next month after admitting helping his cousin to return to the UK after fighting in Syria. 44-year-old Tahir Bhatti from Watford drove jihadist Imran Khawaji back to the UK from Bulgaria in June last year. The Deputy Prime Minister, Nick Clegg, says it's incomprehensible that the official inquiry into Britain's role in the Iraq War won't now be published until after the general election. The Chilcot inquiry, which held its last public hearings in 2011, was set up to investigate the US-led invasion of 2003. An investigation is underway at Watford General Hospital after the mother of a 3-year-old girl with leukaemia complained about the care her daughter received. West Hertfordshire Hospital's NHS Trust has apologised to the family and say they've raised some serious issues. Mum Abby Stanwicks from Hemel Hempstead wants the hospital to make changes.
I am shouting about it. I am talking to the press. I'm raising it to the highest level that I can not because I want to slag off Watford General or anything like that, because I just don't want any other family or any other little child like Bella to go through what we went through.
The charity Age UK says there's been a big fall in the number of people over 65 receiving help from their local council in the past 3 years, at a time when the number of pensioners is rising. The government says extra money has been provided and it's for councils to decide how to spend their budgets. Caroline Abrahams is from Age UK.
When you look at what's going on in hospitals at the moment, this starts to make sense of why it's such a big problem for them. Because really, social care acts as a pressure valve for hospitals. It helps ensure that when somebody is medically well enough, if they're an older person, that they can actually safely be discharged home or to a care home.
In sport, Liverpool and Chelsea drew 1-1 at Anfield last night in the first leg of their League Cup semi-final, and Andy Murray has won his second-round match at the Australian Open Tennis. He beat the Australian Marinka Matasevich in straight sets. The weather mostly dry and cloudy, but outbreaks of rain or sleet are possible. A maximum temperature 4 degrees Celsius. And you can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
Oh, dearie me. There was a slight delay from Simon's news and the start of the show. And I could never tell you why, otherwise we'd all lose our jobs. Let's suffice to say, Tony Fisher has lived a life. He's lived a life. Been all around the world. Morning, guys. Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. The part of Kelly Betts today is being played by Shaggy. Hello. The part of Catherine Boyle is being played by a haggard, bitter old northern woman.
And scene.
And the part of me is being played by the voice of Channel 5's Cats Do the Funniest Things.
Can you sound a little less sarcastic?
I know. That was mine. I didn't see it. I forgot it was on last night.
I Sky Plus'd it, so I'll let you know.
Oh, let me know. Let me know how sarcastic I sound.
OK.
Hey. It's funny you get loads of tweets saying, oh, is that you or Stephen Mulhern doing the voiceover for Cats?
Do they think you're actually sitting there doing it as it goes out?
Well, Kelly couldn't understand the fact that you go to do a voiceover for a programme, you go in, they give you a script, you read it. You might make a few adjustments, but you read it. She's going, what? Do you watch the programme live?
And just talk.
What? Anyway, on the show today, terror prevention, exposed engine. These don't rhyme.
Doesn't matter. I was trying. But
sexual tension. Dealey has got competition.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's the J-Dog versus the K-Cat. And it's 10 to 7. All will be revealed. Should we have some... go on, you want to say something?
Well, it's like a reporter smackdown.
Tony, I bet you'd like a reporter smackdown, wouldn't you, eh? Wowzers. Oh, hang on, I've pressed open instead of... let me do that. Let me do it again. Oh, I've pressed open instead of play. Hang on. It was going to be very smooth. Do a louder smack for us, Tony. Hang on, here we go. Hey, Tony, I bet you'd like a reporter smackdown, wouldn't you?
Party last night at 10 o'clock. It ended in a heck of a fight. When someone hit my Jenny, she went out like a light. Poor Jenny. And then some joker wind called the cops on the phone. So everybody scattered out for places unknown. I couldn't carry Jenny, so I left her alone. Poor Jenny. Well, Jenny had her picture in the paper this morning. With a bang, a around when Jenny gets out of jail. Oh, Jenny. I went downtown to see her, she was locked in a cell. She wasn't very glad to see me, that I could tell. If I could tell the truth, she wasn't looking too well. Poor Jenny, her eye was black, her face was red, her hair was a fright. She looked as though she'd been crying half of the night. I told her I was sorry, she said get out of sight. Poor Jenny, it seems a shame that Jenny had to go get apprehended. A heck of a fate. This party was the first one she ever had attended. It had to happen on her very birthday. Jenny has a brother and he's hot on my trail. Her daddy wants to ride me out of town on a rail. I hope I'll be around when Jenny gets out of jail. Poor Jenny.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, towards the end of last year, we heard that schools in Buckinghamshire... Well, you're not going to find a pair of headphones that work in the studio, Tony, for goodness sakes. We were told that schools in Buckinghamshire were being asked to report pupils at risk of being influenced by Islamic extremists. Well, a letter sent to teachers urged them to look out for suspicious behaviour, bags or vehicles near the schools. Well, it turns out this is part of a wider picture, and Buckinghamshire County Council is being heralded by the Home Office for its work in this area. Tony Fisher is here to explain more. What is this wider picture, Tony?
Well, Ian, basically, there's new legislation coming into force next month, which will mean all local authorities are duty-bound to report, take action if they've got any concerns about a pupil they think may be at risk of Islamic extremism. Up until now, there's just been an understanding that they'll do this, but this will change in mid-Feb when the Counter-Terrorism and Security Bill is enshrined in law. The Home Office says we're not expecting teachers and nursery workers to carry out unnecessary intrusion into family life, but we do expect them to take action when they observe behaviour of concern. It's important that children are taught fundamental British values in an age-appropriate way. It goes on, we're currently consulting on statutory guidance which will set out the types of activity specified authorities should consider when complying with the proposed duty. For schools, including nurseries and other childcare providers, we would expect staff to have the training they need to identify children at risk of radicalisation and know where and how to refer them for further help.
And so this is what they're doing so well in Buckinghamshire, then?
Yeah, exactly. They say they've been working in line with this legislation for the past 2 years. They've sent me a statement saying Buckinghamshire County Council seen as best practice in this area by the Home Office and Office of Security and Counter-Terrorism. Now, Wickham is one of the 30 priority areas, as is Luton, set up by the Home Office as part of its approach to counter-terrorism, which gets additional government support, funding, that sort of thing. So there's areas that they seem are most at risk of where this might happen, where children may be most prone to radicalisation. And Buckinghamshire County Council has a dedicated panel of people from different areas, from all sorts of different youth custody, health, mental health. They meet every month to discuss everything, basically, including individual referrals. So if schools have referred someone to them, they will then discuss what action to take, and that might involve the police as well, depending on the individual situation. Okay. They won't discuss specific numbers with me as the number of referrals that they've had, but they say they have turned around, if that's the right word, the right expression, the people who have been referred to them. Okay. So police obviously have a role to play in this. We'll be talking to the police later in the programme. So it could be that someone may come to their attention first, they then refer them to this panel, or vice versa. This panel is known as the Channel Panel. We don't want to get too bogged down in lexicon. Yeah, but we'll be talking to that chair of that panel also later in the programme.
So Wickham is one of 30 priority areas. Luton is another one of those. What is Luton doing in preparation for this legislation that comes into force next month?
Well, I got a statement from them the other evening. I asked for someone to come on the programme this morning. As yet, no one has taken up the offer. We've just got a statement which doesn't tell us very much. It does say that it claims it's already working on many of the provisions in the Counter-Terrorism and Security Bill, whatever that means. And it goes on to say the draft consultation's been disseminated to key department leads to consider the implications of the duty. So I don't know what that means. Are they just shuffling bits of paperwork around in the office? We don't really know, and I haven't got any further clarification on that. No doubt, I would hope they are doing things for their sake, and I hope they are, but they're not very good at shouting about it.
What are the sanctions?
Well, basically, the Secretary of State could intervene. So if an authority is not complying, Secretary of State could intervene. I've looked it up on the bill. Doesn't specify exactly what the sanctions are, but this will only happen when all other options have been exhausted. So this consultation's been going on for a year, Ian. It's due to run out at the end of this month, and then it's expected to go back before Parliament mid-February and become law then.
Tony, thank you very much.
Before we begin, thank you. Thank you, oh, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
I'm not a bad person.
I know.
I don't drink and I don't kill. I got no evil habits and I probably never will. I don't sing like Elvis Presley. I can't dance like Fred Astaire. But there's one thing in my favor.
What?
I'm a millionaire.
That's beautiful.
And I got more money than a horse has hands. 'Cause my rich old uncle died and answered all my prayers. But having all this money is gonna bring me down. If you ain't with me, honey, to help me spread it around. I could get myself a nose job. I could diet for a year. But I'll never be Robert Redford, 'cause I'm much too fond of beer. Please don't misunderstand me. It's not love I'm trying to buy. It's just I got all this here money, and I'm a pretty ugly guy. But I got more money than a horse has hands. 'Cause my rich old uncle died and answered all my prayers. But having all this money is gonna bring me down. If you ain't with me, honey, to help me spread it around. I don't mind if you love me for my money. If you love me for whatever else I got. But accepting all this stuff, I'm alone in Fort Knox. I don't guess I'm doing all that hard. But I got more money than a horse has hands. 'Cause my rich old uncle died and answered all my prayers. But having all this money is gonna bring me down. If you ain't with me, honey, to help me spread it around. Money, 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 money.
Hey, you! Come here, baby! Stop crying! Put a quarter in the jukebox!
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, let's start out on the major routes first of all, and we'll start on the M1. Looking fine at the moment. No reported problems if you're heading out and about on the M1. Just checking the cameras, can't see anything out of the ordinary currently. Heading on to the trains, generally a good service with no reported delays. James Worley, BBC Three Counties Radio.
6:15, it's Wednesday the 21st of January. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Training is taking place in Buckinghamshire schools to spot signs of children at risk of radicalisation. Bedfordshire Chief Constable Colette Paul has written an open letter to faith leaders in the county in the wake of the Paris attacks. And the findings of the long-awaited Chilcot inquiry into Britain's involvement in the Iraq War will not be published until after the general election in May.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Shrink Wrapped on BBC Three Counties Radio,
where we find out the truths around mental health, disability, and finding out more each week about illnesses.
Sophie Solaria.
I think the programme benefits the listener because they get to come on a learning journey with me, find out so much more about the illnesses that perhaps they wanted to know more about but didn't know where to ask.
Shrink Wrapped.
If you're a doctor and you're listening, you can get on board with Dr. Chetna Kang because she asks all the hard questions.
Every Sunday from 1.
The types of stories we've covered have ranged from dementia and Alzheimer's to uncovering the lack of diagnosis of HIV in Bedfordshire.
Shrink Wrapped on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Spend the night together. Now I need you more than ever. Let's spend the night together now. Oh, mama. Let's spend the night together. Now I need you more than ever, woman. Let's spend the night together. I'm satisfied. You're every need, woman. Let's spend the night together. Now I know you're satisfied me, woman. Let's spend the night together. I beg you, baby. Oh, mama. Let's spend the night together.
Morning, Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Now, on Monday's show, we spoke to Lee Tyler in Luton. He was in hospital when his mum and dad broke the news that his front end had gone. No, it wasn't a medical thing. It was the front of his car had been nicked. It was weird, wasn't it, Catherine? We had the pictures, we put them up on Facebook. It was just the front had been taken off.
Completely lifted off by the looks of it, and it happened in broad daylight. No one saw anything.
The police that Lee told us at the time were reluctant to go out. They told his girlfriend it was happening too frequently. We've heard from Lee, and they may have gone out. We're going to find out more about that later on, aren't we? But we put the pictures on Facebook, as I said, and they rang a bell with former Beds on Sunday journalist Lauren Archell. Morning, Lauren.
Morning, Ian.
Because we posted these pictures of Lee's car, and you went, "Yep, seen this, done this." What? Tell us what happened.
I first became aware of this about a year ago when a lady contacted us and sent some pictures over. And like you said, the front of the car was literally missing. It was really quite shocking to see. And it's a funny thing to say about a theft, really, but it looks quite a neat and professional job.
Yeah, it does look very precise, doesn't it?
Yes. So that was the first time I became aware of it, and we ran that first initial story. As I said, never seen anything like that before. And after that, we were getting contacted about 2 or 3 times a week.
Wow.
With people sharing their photos, sharing their experiences, and it was happening, as you say, in daylight. It was happening in private car parks. It was quite unbelievable, really.
And what was the reaction from the police a year ago?
A year ago, they were unable to tell me whether there'd been a spike in these kinds of incidents or whether this was a problem, and we did put that to them at the time.
Yeah.
And we didn't really get a definite response in it, but from our end, we were seeing it every week, so we knew there was a bit of a problem, really.
And was there one make of car, or was it just, nice cars in general?
No, there was one making car, and as I said, it was a year ago, but it was Vauxhalls, in particular Vauxhall Corsas.
Right. Isn't that funny?
And at the time, we put that to Vauxhall as well, and they said there was nothing particular about that car that makes it easier to take the front away.
Do we know what Lee's car was, Catherine?
I think it was a Vauxhall Corsa. We'll check with him. We'll put him in an hour.
Isn't that listen, if anybody can shed any light on it, I don't know anything about cars. 08459 455.
And to be fair, it's quite hard to tell what it used to be because it's a state, isn't it?
And Laura, do you know that when you reported this, were there any arrests made? Was anything? Did anything happen?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I mean, the woman never got back in contact with us, so I don't know for definite, but it was never said that arrests were made on this.
I just think it really has left me scratching my head. And you say you were getting 2 or 3 incidences of this a week?
After the first time we ran the story, we were definitely getting contacted a couple of times a week, people showing photos, people who this really affected where their car, I remember we had a driving instructor, so car is vital to that job. People were unable to get to work, and it's just really shocking to come out of your house or wake up in the morning and find half your car missing.
And you're right, these operations look very precise, don't they? These people know exactly what they're doing.
It does look a professional job, which sounds a funny thing to say, but when you think of a theft, you think of windows smashed or someone getting in for a few coins, but for the whole car to be missing so many parts, it just looks like a very neat job.
We spoke to one mechanic in the last couple of days who said that they had this happening last year, as you say, and at one point they gave the guy a courtesy car to drive away with, and that one got done as well.
Yeah, it was both of them Vauxhall Corsas. Lauren, listen, it's a cracking story. Thank you so much for getting in touch on our Facebook page, and it's really good to talk to you.
No problem at all, you too.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for getting up at this ridiculous time of the morning.
She's a good one, isn't she?
That's great. Thank you. Can anyone explain... I mean, I know nothing about cars. Why would a Vauxhall Corsa's got gold hidden inside them? What is it? Ben, you're a man. You're like a nerdy man.
Yeah.
I mean, I say man. You're a man boy. Any idea? You're a boy.
Okay.
You know men.
Yes.
You saw a man once. Any idea why they go for Corsas?
No.
Is it a boy racer thing?
I don't know. 08459 455 555.
My brave, my brave, my brave I've been living in style, unaccustomed as I am to the luxury life. I've been hitting the town and it didn't hit back. I've been doing the rounds, unaccustomed as I am to the time on my hands. Now I don't have to tell anybody when I'm gonna get back. Ever since you went away, I've had this sentimental inclination not to change a single thing. As I pull the sheet back on the bed, I wanna go bury my head in your pillow.
been breaking up. Daddy dishes and been throwing them away. Ever since you left, I've been trying to compose it, baby. Will you please come home? No, it's meant for you. As I clear away another untouched TV dinner from the table, I'm late for two. Now that I'm alone again, I can't stop breaking down again. The simplest thing set me off again. Take me to that place where I can find my brave face, where I can find my brave face, my brave, my brave, my brave face, my brave
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the A1M northbound, there's a lane closed because there's been an accident just before junction 15 for Sawtry, so that's causing some problems and delays there. But checking the speed sensors, and no reports of any problems on the M1 or the M25 seems to be moving very well so far. It does look quite wet on the motorways, so take care with surface spray. Having a look at the A1 in Roxton around the roadworks at the Black Cat roundabout, that's all moving fine so far, but could cause you some delays later on. And in High Wycombe on the A40 Oxford Road, there's a lane closed there for roadworks at Oxford Street, so that could affect you in both directions if you're travelling through there this morning. On the trains, no reports of any delays so far. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 6:30. I'm Simon Oxley. Training is taking place in Buckinghamshire schools to spot signs of children at risk of radicalisation. Meanwhile, Bedfordshire Chief Constable Colette Paul has written an open letter to faith leaders in the county in the wake of the Paris attacks. And a Hertfordshire taxi driver will be sentenced next month after admitting helping his cousin to return to the UK after fighting in Syria. The Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg says it's incomprehensible that the official inquiry into Britain's role in the Iraq War won't now be published until after the general election. And Age UK claims that hundreds of thousands of older people who need social care are being left high and dry by a lack of funding and services.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Liverpool and Chelsea drew 1-1 at Anfield last night in the first leg of their League Cup semi-final. Raheem Sterling scored a second-half equaliser for Liverpool after Eden Hazard's penalty gave Chelsea a first-half lead. Here's Chelsea boss Jose Mourinho.
The good thing is that a two-legs semi-final now becomes a one-leg semi-final. Because of a draw, we know that the goals away in the 90 minutes, the goals are not considered. So the match has Stamford Bridge. Liverpool has to win and Chelsea has to win. So it becomes only one leg, but in our house where obviously we are more comfortable.
Tonight, Tottenham host Sheffield United in the first leg of their semi-final. Watford remains 7 points behind Championship leaders Bournemouth after the South Coast side's 1-0 defeat at Leeds. Milton Keynes Dons remain third in League One after fourth place Preston drew 1-1 at home to Yeovil. Stevenage have confirmed the permanent signing of midfielder David McAllister after a successful loan spell. Wycombe have confirmed that manager Gareth Ainsworth's new contract is a 5.5-year deal. And last night's Hearts Senior Cup tie between Hemel Hempstead and Watford was postponed. Andy Murray has won his second-round match at the Australian Open. He's beaten the Australian Marinko Matasevic in straight sets, 6-1, 6-3, 6-2.
He improved, obviously, as the match went on, and there was a lot of tight games in the second and third sets, and a few of them could have gone either way, and those sets could have been a different story, but I managed to win those games, and it was a good match.
BBC Three Counties News and Sport. The next full bulletin is at 7.
On FM, AM, online and digital radio.
This is Iain Lee.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
Fair play. Fair play. The Sun has played a blinder, hasn't it?
Well, by not saying anything.
They have stitched us up like kippers. It was all a con. It was a trick. They lied to us. They manipulated us. It's smoke and mirrors. The smoke is pants. The mirrors is bras. That's what they've done. Page 3 is on page 5 today. And it's... How can I phrase this in a different way that I didn't use upstairs?
It's vintage.
It's sexier than Page 3 used to be. Because they've got bras on and swimsuits. Or, no, I don't know, what would you call that? Is that a basque?
Like a body.
And she's wearing a body, which is, as we all know, a little bit of mystery is sexier than a lot of nip.
See, women would style that differently. Those two outfits look very, very flammable. I wouldn't stand next to a 3-bar if I was...
Thanks for the memories. Wow. So it's ostensibly a story about Celebrity Big Brother. It's not. It's a classic picture of Katie Price from 2005 and Alicia Duval before her face melted in 2002 in pants and bras.
What they're saying there is that their boobs were better when they were bigger and faker.
They lied to us, and I fell for it. The Sun, I fell for it. I got sucked in.
They didn't lie. They didn't say anything.
We've all been sucked in. Can we speak to... I tell you what, I'd like to... We could speak to today if we could. The woman whose name I don't know from No More Page 3.
Yeah, I know who you mean, Lucy.
Yeah, can we speak to her and find out if... Because yesterday she was on Jonathan's show going, well, this is great, this is a victory. I'd like to know if she considers this a victory or not.
Yeah, and actually yesterday they had 2 girls from Hollyoaks running up and down a beach showing their assets. So, there might be slightly more material, but...
I would say this was sleazier. Page 3 had literally an openness, it was. This is sleazier, and this will give the chance to have even muckier pictures in.
The fact that they're kind of falling out of outfits is a bit more voyeuristic, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, let's see if we can speak if she's around. It'd be good just to get her idea. Does she feel cheated by that? Because I certainly do. 0845. Oh, no, don't call yet. Shags is making coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not a lot in the papers today.
No, they're making a big deal out of Twiggy being the new face of L'Oreal.
Yeah.
I noticed Joni Mitchell's being used by someone like Yves Saint Laurent or something.
Joni Mitchell, the most miserable woman in show business. I saw a documentary about her. And she's quite right-wing now.
Is she?
Neil Young is a massively right-wing. He's a supporter of George Bush. Come on, hippies. And she's so dour and miserable. Joni Miserable Mitchell.
What happened to the giggle from the end of...
it disappeared in a cloud of Benson and Hedges. Oh, awful.
Well, anyway, it looks like the big fashion houses have realised that the people who've got the money to spend are Twiggy's contemporaries.
Old ladies.
And they don't want to look like 15-year-olds.
No.
So I'm going to bang that drum. Hang on.
You're going to do what?
Bang the old lady drum.
There we go. Let's just remind ourselves of...
Old lady, they're not old, are they?
I've got no decent Joni Mitchell here, I'm afraid, so we're going to have to go with this cliche. But this is what she used to be. Now just imagine a chain-smoking George Bush supporter being miserable about the world.
Get the hell out of here! They paved paradise, put up a parking lot with a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. They took all the trees, put them in a tree museum, and they charged the people $1.50 just to see them. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Hey, farmer, put away the DDT now. Give me spots on my apples, or leave me the birds and the bees. Please, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Late last night, I heard the screen door slam, and a big yellow taxi took away my old man. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. I said, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot.
There's confusion, right? So we're supposed to have one of the turtles on tomorrow. He's so... Oh, Howard Kalin, we're supposed to have him on tomorrow. Bless you. And then I just get this tweet going, hey, man, 10:30's come and gone. What's happening? Can you phone him up, Catherine? We'll get him on now, a day early. Flippin' heck.
What's the code for America?
001. I think that's the code for America.
Well, we'll soon find out.
I said to him 10:30 on Wednesday. What day is it today? Wednesday. So it'll be Tuesday stateside. Shags, you're going to need to do some quick finding of a song in a minute. Just get the turtles up, and we will hone in on what that song is going to be in a bit. Okay. Thank you, boss. It's Howard we're after, Howard Kalin.
Hello, Howard. It's Catherine here from Counties Radio. Hi, I'm going to put you through now to speak to the governor. Thank you.
What line is he on? Morning, Howard.
Good morning, Ian. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Listen, you're in Seattle, in Washington.
That is correct.
The United States thereof. We're in the UK. It's 6:38 here, 10:38 there. We've had real confusion with the time difference. Both of us have.
Well, you know, what time is meaningless, Ian.
Well, I think with us talking now, we're a day early, because I said to you Wednesday night your time.
Aha. Well, this is Wednesday night my time.
No, hang on. Isn't it Tuesday night there?
Well, I'm really not sure.
Listen,
you asked me about time. You didn't ask me about days.
Oh, Howard, we'll talk to you now. Bless you, sir. Howard Kalin, formerly of the Turtles, formerly of Flo and Eddie, formerly of Hanging Out with Frank Zappa, and author of one of the naughtiest rock and roll autobiographies I've ever read in my life, sir. How are you doing?
Come on.
Man, you did you did some naughty things.
I did what life presented me with.
What did life present you with when you had to play at the White House for President Nixon? Was it Nixon you were playing for?
Yeah, okay, look, wait, now, there are a lot of misconceptions already flying around here.
Go on then, set the record straight.
I didn't play for Nixon.
Okay.
I wouldn't have played for Nixon, no matter what. However, in the United States, because our policies change every 4 years with our presidencies, it's not looked upon with disfavor to appear before a hostile president, for instance. This is as close as we get to a royal invitation to play the palace. You know, it's the White House, so you go whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
Because if you don't go, then they follow you around with little, hats and stuff, and you don't want that for the rest of your life. So, yes, we agreed begrudgingly, I must say, to play the White House. But Tricky Dick Nixon was not around. He was on a mission abroad or something. And this was a party for his then 16-year-old daughter, Tricia. So we figured, what the heck? The sins of the father don't really fall on the daughter when she's 16 years old and coming out in the White House. So, yes, we did. And we did some unorthodox things to prepare for the appearance at the White House.
Now, come on. I love the fact, Catherine, he's denying that he played for President Nixon. But what exactly did you do in the White House, Mr. Kalin?
What would you have done?
I wouldn't have done as many drugs as you did.
I'm not sure, Ian. Now, think back. This is a time frame situation, buddy. Yeah. So think back to what you might have done at the age of 20, 21 or so, in defiance of a government that you really didn't believe in anyway.
Yeah.
And here you are playing free, I might add, as a favor to your government. And then they put you through the hassles that they put us through during the afternoon that preceded that program, and it made things sort of interesting for us that night. We sort of needed to rise above, as the case may be.
As the case, but listen, can I just throw some rock and roll names at you and see what your memories are of them?
Oh, sure. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I know. Bearing in mind we're 24 hours early. Listen, Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix, loved him so much. Knew him before he made it, and it was a remarkable evening that I spent with him in London at the Speakeasy. So you're an expert on this because you have the advantage over your audience of having read my book, Shell Shocked.
By the way, if you want to get a rock autobiography, Shell Shocked is the one to go, because a lot of these books, Howard, they kind of hold back. It's all in there. What did you do with Jimi Hendrix?
Well, I threw up on him.
Already, that's
that wasn't my intention. I mean, we had a lovely evening before that, but I just, some things in a crowded room in a pounding nightclub, I couldn't get away from the table fast enough. I wasn't quite sure where the loo was. All of my buddies had deserted me. Yep. I was alone at like 4 a.m. eating spinach omelets and drinking cognac and getting very, very high with Mr. Hendrix, who hadn't even come to America yet. This was 2 weeks before the Monterey Pop Festival. So he had not even broken in this country yet, even though he was on the front page of NME and Disc and all those papers in Europe. So it was bizarre for me because he was a Seattle guy, like I am now. And we were talking about girls and what success was like and what it felt like to have a number one record and all that sort of thing. And weeks later, he would far eclipse any fame that I ever possessed, certainly, and he'd be telling me what to do.
What did he say?
What
did he say when you puked up on him, Howard?
What did he say? You want the actual words? Can you actually say those words on BBC?
No, you can't.
I think we can imagine them.
I think we can imagine.
You can't even. I mean, even for the motion picture, we'd made a movie of that incident, in fact, and a couple of other gems that led up to a picture called My Dinner with Jimmy that Rhino Pictures put out several years ago. And it played at a lot of film festivals in America and did very, very well, won a lot of prizes, and is available here on Netflix. I don't know what your situation is there, but My Dinner with Jimmy is the name of that, and it's quite the chronicle. Just to prove that I haven't been idle and waiting for the Turtles to have another hit 50 years later.
Yeah, good. Listen, Howard, I've got to do a little bit of business. Can you wait for 2 minutes? Is that okay, sir?
Absolutely.
Stay there, boss. Howard Kalin, formerly, I think he still is with a reformed group of the Turtles. Flo and Eddie, Frank Zappa, all of that stuff. More from him in a second.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's starting to get quite busy on the M1 southbound around Junction 10 for the M1 Luton Airport Spur Road. Looking at the cameras on the M25, that's starting to build up too between Junction 21 for the M1 and 20 for Kings Langley. Further afield on the A1M northbound, there's a lane closed just before Junction 15 for Sawtry because there's been an accident involving a lorry. And checking on the roads in Hertford on the speed sensors on North Road, there's water mains works going around on at Greenways. It's not causing any delays at the moment, but could cause some problems later on. And in High Wycombe on the A404, there's some temporary traffic lights just before Marlow Road. They're just by the leisure centre, so be aware of those today as well. No reports of any problems on the trains. Samantha Braff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Samantha. 6:45, these are your headlines. Training is taking place in Buckinghamshire schools to spot signs of children at risk of radicalisation, and the findings of the long-awaited Chilcot inquiry into Britain's involvement in the Iraq War will not be published now until after the general election in May. More from Howard Kalin after the weather with Kate.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. It's a rather cold, damp and cloudy start to the day. We had some rain overnight. Most of it fell as rain. The temperature just hovered above zero, so not really too much in the way of snow. We could have had 1 or 2 flurries out towards higher ground, but predominantly it was just rather damp. Now, a wet start this morning for many of us, some heavier bursts of rain out there as well. But the temperature's around 2 or 3 Celsius, so this rain continues. Now, it should fizzle out this afternoon, but we're hanging on to the cloud and the colder temperature. It's really going to struggle today. 3 Celsius the maximum this afternoon. The clouds staying for a time this evening, but eventually we'll get some breaks in it, and that's going to allow the temperature to drop. So any rain we get today, untreated roads and surfaces run the risk of turning a bit icy and slippery through the night, but also some patchy frost tomorrow morning. Also the possibility of maybe some mist and fog. So another cloudy start for Thursday. Should get brighter tomorrow afternoon. It's dry though, so slightly improved, and a maximum temperature of 4 Celsius. And that's your forecast.
Business done. Joined again by Howard Kalin. Morning, Howard.
Good morning again, Ian.
God bless you. As far as I'm concerned, we're 24 hours early for this interview, but I'm enjoying chatting to you. It's an honour to talk to you, sir. Let me throw another name at you. John Lennon.
John Lennon, everybody's favourite bad boy. Well, I had a few run-ins with him. The first was not particularly pleasant. It was chronicled in that movie we were talking about earlier, in that we revered those guys. I mean, we were a little American surf band from Los Angeles, California. We had no aspirations of ever doing anything except making a living in high school and being able to buy a better surfboard or a new transmission for our cars or something. And when we were plucked out of the woods to become a band that actually had records, it was only because we put down our saxophones and had decided to sing after the enormous success of the Beatles only like a year prior. In 1965, we were singing, and we were plucked out of the morass and brought to a point where several records later, we had Happy Together, and it had come out as an international record for us, the first one that we'd ever had. We were brought over to England on Decca's dime and put up in a hotel and gotten through all the press conferences and stuff. And the first evening we were there, got the chance to go to this club where later on I was to meet Jimi Hendrix. But earlier, the whole idea was we were with Graham Nash at his home, and Graham played Sgt. Pepper for us for the first time on a tape that George had given him. The album had not yet come out. Wow. And we freaked. As a normal Beatle kid would, you just went, oh, my God, there has never been anything like this ever made. And one of our guys, our rhythm player, Jim Tucker, had said to Graham, I could die a happy man now. If I could meet those guys, that would be you want to meet him? He said, all right, get your coats. Here we go. So we didn't know. We were in a stupor, and we followed him into taxis, and we got dropped off at the Speakeasy. And the first people that he marched us past in procession, as if the Queen herself were there before us, was a table full of Beatles. And it was the most intimidating thing I had ever seen. And, and Jane Asher was there with Paul. They were still very much an item. But John and Paul together had cameras. They both had cameras, and they were crawling under the table. They were very, very high, and taking pictures of the ladies at the table, under their skirts. Oh, they had just torches. They had lighters to light their way. They couldn't really see. They were loud. They were obnoxious. It was terrific, And coming right up on that table and seeing a living, Hard Day's Night played out in front of us. It was just the way we wanted it to be. We met them all. They were all very gracious at first. George was not there. And Paul was particularly nice to me as a singer, asking me about my influences, complimenting the vocals that he had heard from me. Geez, what? I was just over the moon. Yeah. And John Lennon was the only guy who just sort of sat. He just sort of sat and kind of made fun of the whole thing, Oh, the Salad Turtles from sunny California. How are you? What are you dressed like?
That is the worst English accent I've ever heard, Howard. That's appalling.
Well, no, Dick Van Dyke is the worst.
Well, all right, you're not far off him, though.
Was I supposed to be trying?
Listen, one more. I could throw so many names. I know you've worked with Bolan and all these greats. One more name, because I'm a big fan. How the hell did you get to work with Frank Zappa? Because the Turtles, kind of happy-go-lucky, slightly psychedelic pop group, and then to go with, the master of the crazy chord changes and time signatures. How did that happen?
Frank knew us for a long time through his manager, Herb Cohen, who was a cousin of mine. And he also knew about us because when you played as a band on the Sunset Strip, it didn't matter what kind of music you played. We were all in this together. We were all trying to get work at the same clubs. So everybody in Hollywood knew everybody else. And Frank knew within 2 weeks of the Turtles' breakup for legal reasons and record company and royalties and all that, that we had broken up, and that Mark and I, as individuals, stood no chance of having a future as long as this lawsuit loomed above us. And so he very kindly asked us to join the Mothers because he had heard an album we had done called Battle of the Bands, where we satirized every other kind of music in the world. Frank knew that we could play it. He knew that we had incredibly high voices. And he really was looking for some kind of a link between his world of jazz and obscure music and our AM pop world of hit success. And I think he lucked upon it. You know, and all of our best recordings with him were done live in front of an audience and Happy Together at the Fillmore and all that. It sort of cemented our Laurel Canyon relationship.
The Turtles were a weird band, man. You looked you didn't look like, you know, the kind of the bands of the day.
No, we were not skinny. We were not pretty. We had nobody in front to be Peter Noon or even to be on this country's level Mark Lindsay from Paul Revere and the Raiders.
Yeah.
There was no redeeming features to us whatsoever, except that we had me singing, which I think was a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
And we had this incredibly porky guy next to me with unwieldy curly hair and dark black glasses, and he kept dropping tambourines, and no one was really sure what his job was in the band. 50 years later, I can still say every word I've spoken is true.
Yeah. You're still what the hell? You're still doing it now, you two guys, aren't you?
We're what now?
You're still doing it. You're still going out and touring. I know. Listen, I told you I'm a big fan of the Monkees, and I know that you played with the Monkees in the 80s, but you're still going around now.
We go around 3 months a year. We do June, July, and August during the summer. That's all we do. That's all we need to do. I consider us very, very fortunate to have ridden the currents of pop fame up and down for the last half century. And we allow ourselves only those 3 months to work in. We don't work the rest of the year. My partner is a professor in Nashville, Tennessee, at a very big music school there called Belmont University, where, in fact, Peter Noon's daughter just graduated.
Wow.
From his class in music. Every summer when we go out on the road, we take an extra bus full of students from Belmont University to intern with us and to go out on the road and to see what it's like traveling, 3,000 miles at a clip in 3 tour buses and going out with all these bands and having to work press and monitors and house and lights and merchandise and all that, and they get quite the education.
Oh, hang on a second. You're getting cheap labour. That's what it is, isn't it? I've just realised what you're doing there.
Get me a soda, and I mean now.
Listen, Howard, stay there. I want to bring my reporter Justin in. Morning, Justin.
Hey, good morning, boss. What are you doing to me?
I know. I could have sworn I
Hey, what are you guys doing to me? Where is this so-called Greenwich Mean Time that we're talking about?
You're a day early, Howard. You're a day early. Justin,
what are we going to do tomorrow? Are we going to do this again?
Yes, listen, man. You come on any time you want, Howard. It's an honour to talk to you. Justin is our reporter. Justin, you've put together a little package, haven't you, for Howard?
Yes, in 10 minutes, frantically, on this one, because of the time difference. So I've put together a little package on the Turtles and your fantastic music. Take a listen to this. Turtles are slow and boring creatures, but not the band, as they raced up the American charts in 1965 with their debut hit. It Ain't Me Babe, a term that us lads can really relate to. It took them another 2 years to have an impact on the charts this side of the pond, but when they did, they came with a bang. Happy Together, a classic, followed by She'd Rather Be With Me and this little beauty. But here comes the acid test. Do their hits still give them credibility on the streets of Beds, Hearts and Bucks, which are notoriously hard streets to please? Take a listen.
Okay.
The Turtles.
The Turtles?
Yeah, Turtles, yeah.
Okay.
They're still a fantastic band, aren't they?
Yeah, they're fantastic. And the 4 Turtles, the Ninja Turtles, they're the best ones.
No, the band, the Turtles.
Okay, if that's making you happy, I can say yes then.
So it would appear that the Turtles, their music and the people are still very much happy together.
God, Howard, I hope that's okay with you.
Bravo, Justin. Well
Thank you,
done.
Howard. Thank you, boss.
Howard, Justin, that was, I know you knocked that out very quickly. Thank you, mate. Howard, when are you going to come to the UK?
Boy, you send me a ticket and I'm there in a minute. You know, I've never had better times than I had there, especially when we went over, I think, in '67, all the times that we spent as Turtles, as Flo and Eddie, doing kind of low-budget things in and around England. And, of course, with Frank, the entire mess that went on at Royal Albert Hall there for the 200 Motels concert that never occurred.
Oh, someone smacked him, didn't they?
Pardon me?
Didn't someone smack Frank? Is that what happened?
No, this was an entirely different situation. But this was right around the time of the 200 Motels movie.
Yeah.
So this would have been in 71, 72. And there was a concert booked of the concert of the soundtrack for the motion picture 200 Motels at Albert Hall. But we had to submit the script that we were going to perform to the founding fathers of the Albert Hall, and they all read it and went, "Oh no!"
I have seen 200 Motels. I'm guessing that you guys maybe, I don't know, were you taking drugs then as well?
Gee, let me think. Was I breathing? Yes, yes, I was.
Howard, listen, it's such an honour to talk to you. I'm so proud to speak to you. A couple of quick things. What are you up to now? And I've heard rumours that there might be a massive Turtles box set. Is that happening?
Well, what we've done so far in this country is to release everything that we put out on singles as a box set. We've got a 45 RPM box set of just the Turtles' 20 greatest singles back to back that we've prepared. We even include in the box a little spindle for those people who don't really have those laying around in case they have a turntable and nothing else to play it on. We were going to assemble a box set of all of our stuff, and frankly, we took a lot of discussions about it before realizing that not a whole lot of people cared.
Oh, man. So, get a nice rhino handmade job.
Yeah, handmade is great if you've got the money to release that sort of thing as a vanity project. You know, we're still, and I use the word advisedly, struggling musicians. I use both of those words advisedly. I never was a musician, and I've always been struggling.
Howard, listen, I've got to go and do the news. What's the website so people can come and have a look and see what you're up to?
Please do. It is howardkalin.com for all of you, and we're also at the Turtles, theturtles.com for all tour dates and various and sundry things. I thank you, Ian. I'm really sorry that the dates got screwed up, but maybe you can play this again tomorrow morning. It'll be perfect.
It's lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much. Howard Kalin, ladies and gentlemen.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M1 southbound, there's been an accident between junction 13 for Bedford and 12 for Flitwick. That's closing a lane and causing some queues. And looking at the trains, Great Northern have possible delays southbound through Luton because there's an obstruction on the line, so one line is blocked. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Howard. The book is Shell-Shocked. You can get it from Amazon. It really is. It's such a good rock and roll autobiography. Sorry we're a bit late for the news, Simon.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 7 o'clock. The headlines: training in Bucks schools to spot radicalisation. Bed's police chief writes open letter to faith leaders. An investigation at Watford Hospital.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Training is taking place in Buckinghamshire schools to spot signs of children at risk of radicalisation. It comes ahead of legislation next month, which will make it a duty to report any concerns about a pupil at risk of Islamic extremism. More from Tony Fisher.
Up until now, there's only been an understanding understanding that concerns will be reported, but this will change when the Counter-Terrorism and Security Bill becomes law. Buckinghamshire County Council, which covers Wickham, one of the high-priority areas, is being heralded by the Home Office for its work in being fully prepared for the new legislation. Meanwhile, another high-priority area, Luton, says it's already working on many of the provisions in the bill.
Meanwhile, the Bedfordshire Chief Constable Colette Paul has written an open letter to faith leaders in the county, urging them to work with police in identifying extremists in the wake of the Paris attacks. She says Beds Police will be stepping up patrols in Jewish and Muslim communities. And a Hertfordshire taxi driver will be sentenced next month after admitting helping his cousin to return to the UK after fighting in Syria. 44-year-old Tahir Bhatti from Watford drove jihadist Imran Khawaja back to the UK from Bulgaria in June last year. Khawaja had faked his own death in a bid to try and trick the security services. The Deputy Prime Minister, Nick Clegg, says it's incomprehensible that the official inquiry into Britain's role in the Iraq War won't now be published until after the general election. The Chilcot inquiry, which held its last public hearings in 2011, was set up to investigate the US-led invasion of 2003. An investigation is underway at Watford General Hospital after the mother of a 3-year-old girl with leukemia complained about the care her daughter received. West Hertfordshire Hospital's NHS Trust has apologised to the family and say they've raised some serious issues. Mum Abby Stanwicks from Hemel Hempstead wants the hospital to make changes.
I am shouting about it. I am talking to the press. I'm raising it to the highest level that I can not because I want to slag off Watford General or anything like that, because I just don't want any other family or any other little child like Bella to go through what we went through.
The charity Age UK says there's been a big fall in the number of people over 65 receiving help from their local council in the past 3 years, at a time when the number of pensioners is rising. The government says extra money has been provided and it's for councils to decide how to spend their budgets. Caroline Abrahams is from Age UK.
When you look at what's going on in hospitals at the moment, this starts to make sense of why it's such a big problem for them. Because really, social care acts as a pressure valve for hospitals. It helps ensure that when somebody is medically well enough, if they're an older person, that they can actually safely be discharged home or to a care home.
In sport, Liverpool and Chelsea drew 1-1 at Anfield last night in the first leg of their League Cup semi-final, and Andy Murray has won his second-round match at the Australian Open Tennis. He beat the Australian Marinko Matasevic in straight sets. The weather mostly dry and cloudy, but outbreaks of rain or sleet are possible. The maximum temperature just 4 degrees Celsius. And you can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
If you read Howard's book, Shell Shocked, you'll understand why that interview was a day early. A day early! A day early, Catherine!
It was, and then we were late for the news. This is what happens.
This is what happens when you get someone like that on your show. He was fun, wasn't he? He's lived a life. He can't remember any of it, but he's lived a life. Right, what's coming up now? I've kind of lost my thread a little bit.
Justin Dealey's got competition.
Oh, yes.
We're also talking about steps that are being taken to clamp down on the possible, how do you call it? Radicalisation of our children in school.
That's it.
And, oh yeah, Lee, whose front end went.
Oh, yeah. We'll have some of that. And also, have you seen page 3 of The Sun? It's on page 5. Do you feel cheated? I feel deceived.
Come on, no one thought they were going to get rid, did they?
I kind of thought it would be less... well, it's even seedier. 08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's even seedier. It's a picture of Katie Price from 2005 in tight pants and a tight... she's barely wearing a top. And Alicia Duval from 2002, before her face melted, in a tight body. Everything's there apart from the nipples. That's the only difference. And as a gentleman, I find these pictures more, exciting than the page 3.
Whereas all I see is a lot of man-made fibre. And I'm not just talking about...
Alicia Duval. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Have we got... by the way, Shaggy... excellent finger work there. We were all, when we got the text from Howard saying, guys, you're supposed to call me, everybody went into emergency stations. Catherine went round and called him up. Shaggy was doing excellent work on the computer, and Justin Dealey put a whole package together in minutes. So thank you, everybody, for doing that. Have we got any texts, Catherine?
Yeah, we have.
Go on.
And it's going on the subject of these cars. People are returning to their cars, sometimes in broad daylight, and obviously there's been someone who's had it away with their front end.
Steady, come on.
And the neighbours don't notice. We spoke to Lee Tyler, didn't we? Because he put some pictures on Twitter that I saw. And he said that the news was broken to him while he was in hospital, that someone had pinched half his car.
Yeah.
And they managed to do it while people were in. They seem to be quick and quiet.
Do you know what? It's those things. If you do things confidently and you're not looking over your shoulder and you look like you're meant to be there, you can get away with anything.
Lots of theories on Facebook, because it's quite common, apparently, that they've got a marked van. They look like they know what they're doing. No one's going to step in, are they? Chris in Bedford says on the text, morning, the front end of courses were being nicked due to the fact it was a learner car and cheap insurance for young lads. Most ended up having a wing or front end damage as some dodge pot repaired them on the cheap without going through the insurance. That's why there was a spate of that happening.
Vauxhall Corsas is the car, isn't it?
And Helen in Milton Keynes says that Corsa Ayrshire car parts are being sold on eBay. That'll mean something to someone. Corsa bits are being sold on eBay.
I wonder if you go on eBay. Can you have a look at, when I talk to this next guest, have a look on eBay and see if people are being as bold as actually. They wouldn't be selling a whole front end, would they? No, they break it down into bits. Although, have a little look for us, Shaggy, and we'll speak in a bit. 08459 455 555. Now, new legislation is due to come into force next month, which will make it a duty for schools to report any concerns about pupils at risk of radicalisation. The work by the police and councils on this front in Buckinghamshire is already being heralded by the Home Office as, there's great work being done. High Wycombe and Luton are two high-priority areas in the three counties. We can speak now to Pete Oliphant, who is the Deputy Prevent Lead for Thames Valley Police. Morning, Pete.
Good morning, Ian. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. What exactly does your work involve?
Well, if you look back, 2011, the current Home Secretary released a strategy called the Prevent Strategy, and there it picks out or encourages all the statutory agencies, all the safeguarding agencies to work together to try and ensure that all of our residents, and including obviously school children, are safeguarded against exploitation in the world of radicalisation. So that's basically what we're at. We're trying to ensure that everyone remains safe and that we all take our responsibility seriously.
So what kind of things, and this is kind of everyone who would be involved with children, so teachers and care workers and things like that, I'm guessing, what kind of things are they being told to look for?
Well, if we go back a little while to the beginning of 2014, obviously you had all the worry over the Birmingham school and the Ofsted report there, where the school was shown that there was the possibility of dangers for the kids there, because basic steps weren't being taken. The teachers, for example, weren't aware of the possible avenues that people use to exploit children when it comes to radicalisation, and therefore, as a result of that, in April 2014, the Department of Education released quite an important report there talking about keeping children safe in education, and in that report it specifically states around the issue of radicalisation as one of those many dangers that we need to ensure that kids don't come across, and therefore teachers and the education establishment and all the agencies have got a part to play in this. And the new legislation is basically putting that on a legal statutory basis. So whereas before it was all about encouraging the partners to do that, the new legislation, the proposed legislation for next month, will actually enshrine that in a legal requirement.
How many pupil referrals do you see?
Well, if you look nationally, we were probably just over 4,000 referrals into what we call the Channel programme, and that's since 2009. So it's not a huge number, but because if you break that down per county and per local authority, over those numbers of years, it's not huge numbers. But then it's important that those people that are vulnerable are actually picked up and given some support to guide them onto the right path away from that risk of radicalisation.
And what do? You've got a young, you've got a young 13-year-old lad. His teachers think that he's at danger of radicalisation. What do you do to stop that happening or to turn around any damage that may have been done?
What we've got is multi-agency groups that sit down, look at the individual case, and then actually come up with the best plan to ensure that person's turned away from that path. Now, it might be that it's in some cases it's a religious thing. It's a corruption of the way they think, the way the religion has been given to them, and therefore we'd get a credible voice from that community, from that religious group, to say actually what you're believing in, where you're going is the wrong path, and this is the way you should be going. So we get credible voices, people that have got a real standing within the community, within that religious group, to actually come down and work with that individual and give them some real good advice about the real sort of way they should be actually looking.
The work in Bucks is being heralded by the Home Office. In Luton, well, they won't even tell us what, if anything, they're doing in Luton. What are you doing that is so good?
Well, what Buckinghamshire has done is looked at its responsibility seriously. It says, we know that in the strategy 2011 it talks about the agencies, including education, playing their part. And what Buckinghamshire knows is that this legislation is likely to come into force next month, and therefore they're ensuring that all their education establishments within Buckinghamshire understand the dangers, understand the vulnerabilities, and address the risks.
Pete, it's really good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Pete Oliphant, Deputy Prevent Lead for the Thames Valley Police.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
So, did we find any front ends of Vauxhall Corsas on eBay?
There's one bloke selling 4 bumpers.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that odd? Isn't it? I was going to say suspicious. I don't know.
He might be a mechanic, you never know.
He might be a mechanic, you don't know. But it does seem a little bit...
He might be a scrapper.
It does seem a little bit odd, doesn't it? Really? Well, we'll speak to Lee later on, who was in hospital, and his mum and dad came in and said, got some bad news for your son. Your front end's gone. Not my front end! We just mean your car. Few, but still disappointing.
Yeah, and then when he heard that his girlfriend had had a conversation with the police and they said, I don't think we'll send anyone out, it's happening all the time.
We're not that bothered. Well, we'll find out. We'll get the latest from Lee a little bit later on. And also, well done, we'll say her name later on, but we put out kind of over Christmas and we've held back a little bit because I want to focus on a couple of other things for the moment, but this is still an open offer. We asked you to start filming or recording the sound of little pieces, little packages that you wanted to put together yourself. Maybe you were stuck at a train station and the train was an hour late and you wanted to just film a little piece of you going, or there was a leak in your street that had been there for a month and you wanted to just go around and record people in their street saying how annoyed they were.
Or maybe you've seen something funny.
Yeah. And you can record just the sound, or you can do a little video. It doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be slick. You send it in to us and we'll potentially play it and put it on the Facebook page. Well, somebody has done that. And, well, she's kind of taunting Justin.
Not even kind of. She is. She's definitely...
It's uncomfortable listening.
It's on.
And I think Justin is really going to... I mean, fair play, he played a blinder this morning, putting together a 2-minute package in 5 minutes. That takes skill.
Yes.
That takes skill. Suddenly we had an interview that we thought was going to be tomorrow. We had it today. But I think this young lady, I think she's got talent. We'll play that before 8 o'clock.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The M1 southbound is down to 2 lanes because of an accident between junction 13 for Bedford and 12 for Flitwick. That's involving 2 lorries and a car, so it's causing some queues. On the M25 anti-clockwise, it's looking very busy between junction 17 for Maple Cross and 16 for the M40. And looking at the M25 junction 21A roundabout on the North Orbital Road, that's looking very slow on speed sensors too. The A1 southbound starting to look very slow as well between the St. Leonard's Junction and the Black Cat roundabout with the roadworks there. And on the trains, there are delays through Luton on all trains because the southbound line, one of the lines is blocked, so that could cause some delays and cancellations through the morning. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you for squeezing in the travel last time. Excellent, excellent work. Right, where are we now? 7:16. It is Wednesday, the 21st of January. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Training is taking place in Buckinghamshire schools to spot signs of children at risk of radicalisation. Bedfordshire Chief Constable Colette Paul has written an open letter to faith leaders in the county in the wake of the Paris attacks and the theft of trophies from the Milton Keynes headquarters of the Red Bull Formula One team features on the BBC's Crime Watch programme tonight on your telly box.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Every weekday morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon Smith.
Local opinions.
We think it's absolutely shocking that this young man should continue to have to be punished.
He hasn't even shown any remorse or said sorry.
Well, firstly, I have to disagree.
The JVS show.
Well, but we're not living in very optimistic times.
But it does seem very clear, doesn't it?
They're human beings. Some are good people, some are bad.
The JVS show on BBC Three Counties Radio. Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
OK, so we've been talking about the Luton man who's had his car pinched. Well, not all of his car, the front half of his car. Lee Turner is missing the front end of his car. When his girlfriend called the police, she was told they wouldn't send anyone out because it's really common. Well, Lee joins us now. Morning, Lee.
Morning,
So,
you're right.
Yeah, I'm fine. This story just keeps on going. So you were in... just remind us, you were in hospital and your mum and dad came in and said, Lee, we got some news.
Yeah, they went, they've got some bad news. Obviously, I thought, oh, God, someone's died. And then they were like, no, the whole front of your car has been robbed. I was like, what? Yeah. So,
I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous.
I know, it is. It's unbelievable.
And when did they bring you pictures or did you not see it until you got out of hospital?
No, my girlfriend messaged me the photos of it that night.
You must have thought that was a joke or something.
And I did. It sort of took about 5-10 minutes to actually sink in. Yeah, I just couldn't believe it. And then, obviously, they were just taking my blood pressure as I saw the pictures.
Oh, dear.
And I said to him, I think we might have to do this again later.
Now, your girlfriend, she spoke to the police, Bedfordshire Police, and they weren't particularly helpful that time, were they?
Not really, no.
They said, basically, it happens so often, there's nothing we can do.
That's it, but we'll just put some more cars out.
But this has changed. They got in touch with you after your appearance on the show earlier in the week, didn't they?
Yeah, they. I think was it Monday? I think it was. I think we were in Sainsbury's, and they rang me and said, "Oh yeah, we're looking to maybe do some prints on the car." They just wanted to find out, I think, how we were, but then wanted to find out where the car was.
Right.
So I thought, okay, well that's pretty good. At least they're sort of taking a bit of an interest now. But then yesterday they sent her an email. And it was just like a generic email with an attachment, and it was saying, "Oh yeah, we've not been able to find any trace. We had a look at the CCTV images," and I'm thinking, "Hang on, there's no CCTV around here." And it was just very generic, and it said about victim support. And I thought it's not really helpful, to be honest.
It sounds like a fob off.
Yeah,
they have been to look at the car, haven't they?
As far as I'm aware, yeah, they have.
What we heard was they went to the garage where the car is at on Monday and had a look. But this generic, vague email basically says, "Oh well, tough."
Yeah, that's it. We're not going to look into it anymore. It's sort of just more. They want to make it look like they're there to support us, but they're not there to actually find out who done it. I think. I don't need support. I want to know who's done it.
Catherine, the thing I don't understand about this is we have... Oh, sorry, I know you've got a cough sweet in. I apologise. I just realised. That when we put Lee's picture up on Facebook, so many people got in touch with their own pictures, with their own stories. Exactly. We spoke to that young lady who used to be at Beds on Sunday, who said that this was a big thing a year ago.
It was like a game of dodge, pot, snap.
Yeah.
People saying, "Oh, I've had that," and we were in with the windows open. We didn't hear a thing. It seems that these people can do it in broad daylight. No one bats an eyelid.
And this thing, if it's common, then surely the police should be more in... If it was a one-off, you could kind of sort of understand them not wanting to get involved. But if it's happening a lot, then you'd think they'd be on it, because it's probably a gang that's doing it.
It looks organised, doesn't it?
And have you said this to them, Lee? Look, we know this has happened to other people.
Well, my girlfriend did when they rang her on Mondays. Yeah, she said that. Because she'd worked the previous night, and she said to him, "Yeah, well, I know quite a few people at work who've had it done to them sort of within the last year." But I don't really know what's come of it, but, well, it seems like not that much.
And were they... Because your car's a Vauxhall Corsa, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
The other cars that your girlfriend was talking about, were they Vauxhall Corsas?
Yeah, exactly the same, Vauxhall Corsas. And there's actually a girl in Sainsbury's who I saw, who I actually know, and she said it's happened to her 3 times in the last year.
All Corsas?
All Corsas.
Isn't that nuts?
And I did think you shouldn't buy Corsa again, but...
Well, I mean, we could never suggest such a thing, but we've yet to find another car that it's happened to.
No, me too. It's ridiculous.
What have the insurance said, Lee?
Well, it's... I think it was on Monday they gave me a ring and said it's... because of the aircon, everything's been cut out and stuff, they said it's a write-off. So... So yeah, I don't have a car now. So luckily my insurance has been able to cover the costs, and I don't have to pay any excess because it's a write-off. And I think I'm getting about 80 quid back, which is, jackpot. But yeah, sort of, at least the car's been sorted, which I'm kind of happy about now. It's sort of one less thing to worry about, but still it's... For something that wasn't my fault, it is a bit stressful at the moment.
Yeah, I can imagine. I would be flipping. I'd be furious with the insurance company, with the dodgepots that did it, with the police for not taking an interest. Well, you're going to have to get another car, I'm assuming, Lee. Any idea what you're going to buy?
Oh, probably a pair of rollerblades at the moment.
With the 80 quid, you might be able to afford one of them.
Exactly.
Lee, listen. Again, if you hear anything from the police or anything changes, will you give us a call and let us know?
Yeah, of course, definitely will.
And we'll keep looking at this. Lee, thank you very much indeed. Lee Tyler there. I can't understand for the life of me why the police wouldn't be that bothered. I mean, apparently they went and we spoke to the garage and the forensic team went and had a look on Monday at the car. But why... Surely the more it's happening, the more involved they should get to find the idiots that are doing this.
I'm wondering whether the fact that these things are write-offs and the insurance stumps up makes them think it's a kind of victimless crime.
But the woman he spoke to in Sainsbury's who'd had it happen to her 3 times.
I know, and the mechanic we spoke to said that they lent someone a courtesy car because it happened to them, and the courtesy car got
both Corsas.
Yeah,
Corsas. Isn't that interesting? Listen, if you could shed any light on this, why it would be Corsas? I mean, are they particularly easy to disassemble from the front? Is it an easy thing to do? Are they particularly weak at the front, so you need to replace them? I've got no idea. 08459 455 555.
On FM, AM, online and digital radio.
This is Iain Lee.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's my boy's 3rd birthday today.
Flipping heck.
When did that happen? Well, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
3 years and 9 months ago was the last time, I think. So that's that. 3 years old. 5 years old last week. 3 years old this week. I don't know.
You know what's going to happen next year?
What?
4.
Oh, you're joking.
Yeah.
The thing is, last night we were saying to him, when he was 2, how old are you going to be tomorrow? 5. Oh, come on, mate. You're going to be 3, that's obvious.
They have no concept of what tomorrow means.
That's my head in.
Are you going to tell him the deja vu story, or should we talk about me being mistaken for a man?
Well, let's do the man thing first, because this was embarrassing. This was awkwado.
It was funny, and then I felt hurt.
I didn't think it was funny in your presence. I felt it was horrible. It was one of those horrible moments.
It was the... Do you know what made it worse?
Yeah.
Her making excuses.
Oh, boy, she was trying to... You can backpedal too much. I think in those situations you just need to go, sorry, I thought you were a bloke.
Yeah.
What was it, an older lady?
No.
No, really?
No.
Oh.
No, about Kath's age, 42.
No, a bit older than me.
All right, 43.
It was a barrister. No, sorry, a barista. We went for a coffee, and she said, "What can I get you fellas?" Looked around. Oh.
Just us stood there.
Just us. And then her colleague said, actually, there's a lady there. And she looked up and she went, yeah. And the excuses, OK. She started telling me about how long a shift she'd done, how she'd been late for work yesterday, and she thought she was still a bit, from yesterday.
It was awkwado.
She might as well have said, sorry, you do look like a man. I don't look like a man, do I?
You don't look like a man. There was a hint of Potter.
OK, I've got short...
There was a hint of Harry Potter yesterday.
I've got short hair. I like to think it's gamine.
Gammy?
Gamine. Cute little pixie crop.
It looked boyish, and you had
I had
specs
glasses on yesterday, yeah. But I was wearing a dress and knee boots.
That might give it away.
I
get mistaken for a woman on the phone a remarkable amount. It's quite...
And we're in.
That's why I grew the beard, I think, because I was, I wanted to reassert my manhood.
That's why I've shaved mine off.
You do sound like an old lady. Complain about buses. Then when I close my eyes.
The trouble with buses is they never arrive on time, and then when you're waiting for two come at the same time,
it's an old lady, isn't it? The question is, ever been mistaken for somebody of the opposite sex? 08459 455 555.
Paul Scoins is trying to help here. Bless him.
Oh, go on. What's she
Isn't
saying?
fellas the new guys? He says.
No, she thought Catherine had a winkle.
The look on her face when she was pulled up said to me, "Oh, but I thought you were a man."
You should have just gone, "Thank you very much." Thanks.
And then clicked off in my knee boots.
I thought it was rude of you to embarrass her.
I was just laughing. I was like, "It's fine."
It was not fine. It
No.
was horrible. Ever been mistaken for somebody of the opposite sex? 08459 455 555.
I now know how my babies felt, because my babies were always dressed in a kind of girly colour, and yet they would still say things like, "Oh, isn't he gorgeous?"
Oh, you can never tell the gender of babies.
Well, it turns out babies and me.
Colin's on the line. Morning, Colin.
Morning.
What you got for us, boss?
I get mistaken
for a man all the time, I bet.
For a female.
Oh, hang on.
The phone.
Hang on, what are you?
What am I? You cheeky little...
See, I always thought you were a woman.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, there's a comment that I can't say over the radio.
Is it bum bum?
No, much worse than that.
Winkies?
To do with that.
Okay.
He sounds like a woman who has smoked a lot of cigarettes.
Yeah, in those long black filter tip things.
Like Kathleen Turner. You sound
Yeah.
like Kathleen Turner.
Who's Kathleen Turner?
Talk to me about the price of makeup.
The price of makeup? I wouldn't know anything about it.
Yeah, Kathleen Turner.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Kathleen. 08459 455 555. When have you been mistaken for a member of the opposite sex?
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M1 southbound, there's only one lane open now between junction 13 for Bedford and 12 for Flitwick. That's because of an accident involving two lorries and a car, and that's causing some long queues. On the A1M southbound, that's looking very busy around junction 7 for Stevenage. And Helmer Hempstead on the A41 southbound, it's looking very slow on the speed sensors between Two Waters Road and the M25 at Kings Langley. And in Bromham, on the Bromham Road, that's looking very busy between the A428 at the Branston Way and Ashburnham Road. Checking the speed sensors around the Black Cat roundabout on the A1 southbound, that's looking very slow now around the roadworks. And on the trains, there are some delays through Luton because one of the southbound lines is blocked, so that could cause some cancellations as well. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Sammy.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 7:30. I'm Simon Oxley. Training is taking place in Buckinghamshire schools to spot signs of children at risk of radicalisation. Meanwhile, Bedfordshire Chief Constable Colette Paul has written an open letter to faith leaders in the county in the wake of the Paris attacks. And a Hertfordshire taxi driver will be sentenced next month after admitting helping his cousin to return to the UK after fighting in Syria. MPs from across the political spectrum have criticised a decision not to publish the report by the Chilcot inquiry into the Iraq War until after the general election. And the theft of trophies from the Milton Keynes headquarters of the Red Bull Formula One team features on the BBC's Crime Watch programme tonight. It will show CCTV footage of thieves using a car to smash their way into the Tilbrook base in December.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Liverpool and Chelsea drew 1-1 at Anfield last night in the first leg of their League Cup semi-final. Raheem Sterling scored a second-half equaliser for Liverpool after Eden Hazard's penalty gave Chelsea a first-half lead. Here's Liverpool manager Brendan Rodgers.
Incredible goal. I think we worked the ball really well, and obviously the bottom two of their two defensive midfield players were stretched, and that allowed the ball to then go and penetrate in between and said to Raheem about exploiting that space in front of the defenders, but he's got that great pace to then go beyond, and it was a wonderful goal.
Tonight, Tottenham host Sheffield United in the first leg of their semi-final. Watford remains 7 points behind Championship leaders Bournemouth after the South Coast side's 1-0 defeat at Leeds. Milton Keynes Dons remain third in League One after fourth place Preston could only draw 1-1 at home to Yeovil. Stevenage have confirmed the permanent signing of midfielder David McAllister after a successful loan spell. Wickham have confirmed manager Gareth Ainsworth's new contract is a 5.5-year deal. And last night's Hearts Senior Cup tie between Hemel Hempstead and Watford was postponed. Andy Murray's won his second round match at the Australian Open. He's beaten the Australian Marinko Matasevic in straight sets.
He improved, obviously, as the match went on, and there was a lot of tight games in the second and third sets, and a few of them could have gone either way, and those sets could have been a different story, but I managed to win those games, and it was a good match.
And in rugby, England coach Stuart Lancaster will name his training squad for the match against Wales this morning. The final squad for the Six Nations will be selected on January the 31st. BBC Three Counties News and Sport. The next full bulletin is at 8.
There's a voice that keeps on calling me. Down the road is where I'll always be. Every stop I make a new friend. Can't stay for long, just turn around and I'm gone again. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow I'll just keep moving on. Down this road that never seems to end. When new adventure lies just around the bend. So if you wanna join me for a while, just grab your hat, come travel light, that's hobo style. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow, the whole world is my home. So if you wanna join me for a while, just grab your hat, come travel light, that's hobo style. Until tomorrow, I'll just keep moving on. Maybe tomorrow, I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow, I'll just keep moving on. There's a world that's waiting to unfold, a brand new tale no one has ever told. We've journeyed far, but you know it won't be long. We're almost there and we've paid our fare with a hobo song. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow I'll just keep moving on. So if you wanna join me for a while, just grab your hat, come travel light, that's hobo style. Maybe tomorrow I'll find what I call home. Until tomorrow, you know I'm free to roll.
08459 455 555. Do you feel cheated by the no page 3 thing that hasn't really happened? Page 3 today, it's on page 5, it's sexier, dirtier than page 3 was a week ago.
There's a lot of nylon.
There's a lot of nylon. There's no nipples, but there's a lot of, you know.
Kind of makes it worse that they're popping out of clothes, because it suggests that they haven't noticed that that's what you're looking at.
We'll get the international word on the street in a little bit. We're also talking about the front end of Vauxhall Corsas being nicked and ever been mistaken for somebody of the opposite sex. Philip's in South Norwood. Morning, Philip.
Good morning, Iain.
Good morning, Philip.
I used to be a bus inspector, as you know, and I was called to a bus once. A driver had a problem.
Yes.
He was accusing this woman of being a man on a bus pass.
Sorry? Wow.
Yes. So I thought, so this is a minefield.
Yes.
If I put a foot wrong here, I'm going to be on the front page of the Sun.
Yes, exactly.
Not page 3,
no.
page 1. Anyway.
Well, did you have to get a Pope chair? You know about the Pope chair, don't you? Yeah, you know the Pope chair, don't you, Philip?
I'll see the Pope-mobile.
No, but you know...
You won't have seen the Pope chair.
You know the Pope... Wasn't there a Pope Jane or something?
That
I think there was, yes.
That's the rumour.
She was a lady. They only found out when she died. So how do they... Ben, do you know this, the Pope chair?
Is it...
Anyway, I got called to the bus.
Hang on, Philip, we're talking about Pope Snackers.
I see, sorry.
Do you remember that scene when Daniel Craig had the... rope taken
They
to
do
the
that,
side
but
of the
without the rope. There's one cardinal. So the Pope-to-be sits on a chair, like a commode.
Yeah, and the cardinal,
no pants.
like a mechanic, gets on like a skateboard underneath.
Has a little... yeah, he's got a couple of them. There we go. Anyway, Philip, back to you, gender bending on a bus.
I got called to the bus.
Yes.
And the driver said to me, I thought, well, this is so careful. Anyway, so I looked at the pass.
Yeah.
And the lady said, when I had the picture taken, she said I was having a bad day.
Well, we've all had bad. We all had
that's
bad
right.
ones, yeah.
So, I mean, I was.
When I had the picture taken, I was having a bad day.
I was satisfied, that and I managed to defuse the situation.
Yeah.
And I told the driver, to continue his journey, and the woman went and sat at the back of the bus.
So, hang on, did she look like a woman in real life or a woman in the photo?
She looked like a man, slightly masculine, should I say, in the photograph. And she said, yes, she looked like a lady, but it could have blown up, could have really gone, really either way.
Yes, it could have gone either. Thank you, Philip. Chris is in Milton Keynes. Morning, Chris.
Morning.
What you got for us, boss?
Yeah, my friend had the front end of his Corsa stolen. We went out for a meal on a Sunday evening. Came back and, it'd all gone, all the front ends.
Wait, so what? You went for a meal. Did you go to a restaurant or was it at his house?
It was a restaurant, yeah. Went out for a restaurant, gone for about an hour, come back, more front end's gone.
Well, I'm speechless. This is so common. What happened? Did you get in touch with the police?
He got hold of the police and the insurance, and the insurance paid out. But again, the police weren't really interested because it's a common thing. But we made some inquiries, and what we come down to the conclusion is a lot of the parts are getting stolen on limited edition models. So you can get your Nan's 1.4 litre Corsa to look like a more expensive limited edition model.
Chris, listen, thank you. I'm going to go on to Wishbur. Morning, Wishbur.
Good morning.
Has this happened to you as well?
Yes, happened to me 3 times.
What? You're not the lady in Sainsbury's, are you?
No.
Oh, okay. So it happened to you 3 times on the same car?
Yes, same car 3 times. First they took the old spare wheels.
Yeah.
And afterward they took the M3 hood top.
And when you got... this was outside your home, was it?
Outside the front of my door.
Did you not think after the second time, maybe I should get a different car?
We called the police, we complained to them. They said they can't do anything.
It's like them saying, well, you know that murders are so common. We just really can't look into them anymore.
It's done now anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now our house is front of the busy road. It's a White Horse Lane.
So people would have seen it happen.
Nobody told us. Nobody.
I'm assuming you've got a different car now, Wishbur.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a different car. We sold the car.
When the police said, look, sorry, love, there's nothing we can do. I'm sure they phrased it a little bit better than that. How did that make you feel?
We feel so ashamed. We don't know where we are living this world.
Wishbur, I really appreciate your call. Isn't this sad?
3 times. 3 times.
Lee Tyler, we've been speaking to, just tweeted. My dad just rang me and said, "Why not speak to Vauxhall Motorbodies? They should be able to shed some light on this." Did we speak to Vauxhall?
Yeah, I think we have.
And they kind of went, "Well, I don't know.
Nothing
to do with us. I don't know." Isn't it weird? 08459 455 555. I meant to ask both those callers when it happened, if it happened a while ago.
If you're a mechanic, is this ringing a bell with you? 08459 455 555. And is it just a Luton thing? Because I've heard of it extending further out into Bedfordshire.
Now, listen, let's talk... The page 3 thing continues. It's in a few of the papers.
I knew they were staying silent for a reason.
Let me get the Telegraph, because there's an argument in the Telegraph from some model... I can't find it anyway. There's an argument in the Telegraph and some of the papers from some page 3 models, including Jodie Marsh, saying, whoa, all of these men haters, these old women who don't wear bras, stop... I know, that's the language that's used. Stopping us earning a crust, that's unfair. They should get a life. That's the argument there.
They can still earn a crust, just doesn't have to be in a newspaper.
Well, it doesn't have to be in a newspaper, but when you see page 3 today, which is on page 5, and, well, I would say this was worse than what was there before.
The headline's quite mocking as well, I think.
Thanks for the memories. Lucy Ann Holmes, I think it was Lucy Ann, who was on JVS's show yesterday. She's from No More Page 3. She joins us this morning. Morning, Lucy Ann. Oh, where are you? Oh, you're there. Sorry, I joined the wrong page. Morning, Lucy Ann.
Hi there.
I'm assuming you've seen page 5.
Yeah, seen it.
What do you reckon? Is it a victory, or are they have they taken the mick out of us?
I spoke about this quite a lot yesterday. It's been pretty much like that the 2 days before as well, because we've had, I think on Monday we had Rosie Huntington, was it Whiteley, in Marks and Spencer's underwear, so advertising underwear, and we had yesterday 2 Hollyoaks actresses in bikinis, and today obviously we've got Thanks for the Memories and pictures of the Celebrity Big Brother contestants wearing sort of not very much. And to be honest, this is totally what we expected.
Right.
So I would say it is a victory for people power. It is a shift. You know, these pictures the topless pictures have been there for 45 years, and collectively a group of individuals stood up and said, it's not really on, it's misrepresenting women, it's disrespecting women. We persisted for 2.5 years, and we have seen that change can happen. However, there's still a long way to go. And we've always been campaigning against the Sun newspaper. We always knew they'd do this on their own terms.
Yeah.
Much as I would have loved them to have seen them on Monday go, we valiantly represented glamour modelling as a career choice for young women now for 45 years. And we're going to use this page to really, really celebrate all the other brilliant and amazing things that women can do. They could, for example, have used that page to highlight women's sport. This is a paper that's, widely known as a good newspaper for sport, and yet it doesn't cover women's sport. It could have gone, right, we're going to spend a year, really, really celebrating one of the great things that the great achievements of our sportswomen, but it didn't. It's still basically saying women are there to decorate the news, while the men, wear clothes and do things. The women are simply there to have their bodies judged and looked at. So, no, I can't stand here and say this is a great thing for women's representation in the media, because it's definitely not. But it is a small step in the right direction, but we've got a long way to go.
Lucy Ann, yesterday I was listening to another radio station. I know, don't tell my boss. But I heard a rather shouty Mike Parry defending Page 3 as an excellent way into the media. I mean, what he was saying was Linda Lusardi became an actress off the back of that. And he didn't really understand the idea that, hey, girls, you can do that without having to get your boobs out first. And, there are a lot of girls, and there's a generation of girls who think that is the way in. And that's sad, isn't it?
It's such an interesting thing. I mean, it's interesting now. Linda Lusardi supports, the end of Page 3. She's spoken out throughout the campaign about it, and it's a really interesting one. Yes, on one hand, some women, do think it's a great career opportunity, but so many glamour models have supported the campaign all along, because the context of a family newspaper, just isn't right for these pictures. And what we found is that many of the comments on our petition from women who'd done glamour modelling were really sad. There was one young woman who just said, she's the one I can quote word for word, but there were lots very similar. But, this young woman said, I was 18 and I did it because, it was the largest, shiniest image in the newspaper. That's what I was aspiring to. So I did it at 18. I thought guys would think women would think I was cool and guys would think I was hot. But actually I was treated like a piece of meat. I wasn't ready for it. And now I'm trying to rebuild my self-esteem. So I'm right behind this. And I actually think that women have been shortchanged. For 45 years, the largest female image in our most widely read family newspaper was of a woman standing in her knickers showing her breasts for men.
I'm just looking at a tweet now from Samira Ahmed, the broadcaster, and this is a tweet that she put. It's a picture from a copy of The Times from a while ago, and there's a massive picture of a woman in bridal gear but in her pants next to a really tiny story. The headline is "Woman to Command Fast Jet Squadron." The fact that they've gone bigger on that, and it's across the whole board, isn't it? That this happens.
They all do it. You quite often see on the front page of the Telegraph, a picture of a woman. It'll be a woman in a slinky dress at a film premiere, but the huge image, of a story that's tucked way inside the paper, and it's really just, we see everywhere. It's not just in media. People using women's bodies to sell stuff, but there was nothing quite as striking as the Page 3 topless image every day.
I find these pictures in the paper today, I don't know what the word is I can use on the radio. I find them kind of naughtier and more exciting than...
I think it's because it's more voyeuristic. It's like you've noticed that they're popping out of their clothes, but they haven't.
It looks muckier, to use... It looks muckier than the page 3.
I think, what a lot of people are saying, it's not great. I totally agree. So I can't stand here and say, "Well, this is wonderful." I do. Some people have said, what we've heard again and again is, page 3 was really, really challenging when children were involved. So many mums got in touch with us and teachers and just said, what do I do? My 6-year-old suddenly, asked me, "Mum, is this what little girls do when they grow up?" When confronted in a cafe with page 3, I was asked, "Mummy, why aren't little girls? Why aren't women wearing? Why isn't this lady wearing any clothes in the newspaper?" And actually, those questions are quite hard to navigate.
Yeah.
What do you say? Oh, men like looking at breasts, darling. What do you do? Whereas actually, these other pictures, although aren't great, might be a little bit easier to navigate with children. Oh, she's an actress on Big Brother. She's an actress. She's a model. She's an actress. These things are a little bit easier, perhaps, to navigate. But as you said, I can't. It's not great. I can't say it is.
Lucy-Anne, nice to talk to you for the first time. I know we got you at short notice. Lucy-Anne Holmes from No More Page 3. We're going to find out the international word on the street in a few minutes on that.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M1 southbound, there are severe hour-long delays because of an accident between junction 13 for Bedford and 12 for Flitwick. It's just down to one lane there, and it's causing long queues from junction 14 for Milton Keynes. On the A1M southbound, it's looking very slow on the speed sensors between junction 8 for Hitchin and 7 for Stevenage. And the M25 anti-clockwise looking very busy between junction 20 for Kings Langley and 18 for Chorleywood. Into High Wycombe on Amersham Hill, that's beginning to look very slow as well. And the A1 southbound very busy between the St Neots Junction and the Black Cat roundabout with the roadworks there. On the trains, no major delays showing up on the departure boards, but Great Northern are warning there are possible delays through Luton because one of the southbound lanes is blocked. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Samantha. I promise I'll hit one of those travel bulletins on time this morning. That's certainly my aim and my ambition anyway. 7:47. It's Wednesday, the 21st of January. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Training is taking place in Buckinghamshire schools to spot signs of children at risk of radicalisation. Bedfordshire Chief Constable Colette Paul has written an open letter to faith leaders in the county in the wake of the Paris attacks. And the theft of trophies from the Milton Keynes headquarters of the Red Bull Formula One team features on BBC's Crime Watch programme tonight. Let's get the weather. Here's Kate.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A cold, damp and cloudy start to the day. In fact, it's going to be a cold, damp and cloudy end to the day as well. The temperature not really shifting too much. We had some rain overnight, but the temperature just hovered above zero. So predominantly it fell as rain. Higher ground, we could have got a wintry flurry, and the same really goes for today. The temperature's going to stay around 2 or 3 Celsius through much of it. Overnight, the cloud will gradually start to break. The clear spells mean the temperature will drop down, probably to around -1, -2, and it's in those spots where we could see a bit of ice forming on untreated roads and surfaces from today's rain. Also some frost, patchy frost and patchy fog. For tomorrow, a cloudy start, but then we'll get some brightness in the afternoon, maybe even some sunshine. A much drier day tomorrow, the temperature at 4 Celsius. And that's your forecast.
Every weekday from 3.
Let's talk about your story. They're little globules of it's chocolate. What is that sticking out of that?
That's the abdomen of the ant.
Roberto Perroni.
Film critic Richard Fitzwilliams, welcome to the programme. Richard, will you be watching Rambo 5?
They are unsubtle, they are silly, and they do not appeal.
Overweight people are being ignored, humiliated and insulted on a regular basis.
When you're in the supermarkets, people watching what you're picking up and passing comments.
Can I ask you, Claudette, what does it cost to have a cycle of IVF when you decide, well, I have to have children?
It all totalled to nearly £25,000. When you're in such a low and desperate place, you'll do anything.
Roberto Perroni on BBC Three Counties Radio.
08459 455 505. John's in Datchworth. Morning, John.
Good morning, young man.
Well, thank you very much indeed, boss. What you got for us?
That young lady that you were just speaking to against page 3.
Yes.
Why did they target the Sun for page 3 and not the Daily Star and the Sport, which is a lot worse than
the
Sun?
Sport is just is just a mucky rag. That's the ethos of the Sport. The Star, I don't know. I guess because page 3 is such an iconic historical, national thing. And the Sun sells way more newspapers than the Star.
The Star's owned by Richard Desmond, right?
Yeah.
So he's not opposed to...
Yeah, he loves it. I guess I would imagine, John, it's because it's a bigger cultural phenomenon on page 3 of the Sun, and it's got a much bigger circulation.
I think they started it as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
I can't see the problem in it personally. I mean, obviously, I'm a married man, and my wife's got all the attributes.
Yeah, look at your wife. Look at your wife's boobs.
Have you got daughters?
I do. Don't worry.
Have you got daughters, John?
I have a 28-year-old young girl.
I'd love to look at your daughter's breasts. I really would. Honestly, I would love to stare at your daughter's boobs out of the bra.
A lot of people do when she goes out to the pubs, but not necessarily not out of the bra.
I would love your daughter to sit
if she was
here.
in that industry, then there wouldn't be a problem, would it?
You wouldn't have a problem with your daughter getting her baps out?
If she was in that industry and she wanted to show off her fantastic figure.
Wow, you'd be happy with blokes of all types looking at her and going, "Whoa, look at her knockers, they're marvellous." Not looking at her face or not even interested in how intelligent she was, just looking at her boobs.
It wouldn't bother me because you're not actually seeing the people doing it. I mean,
no, it's not a real woman, is it?
I put up at a T-van as a lorry driver. Wow. We put up while you're waiting for your stuff, they've all got newspapers and they've all got the Sun. You have a quick flick through, have a quick look at the attributes on the young ladies, and then you just crack on with the rest of the newspaper. You don't stand there and perv over it and do things that you shouldn't do out in the open.
You do it in private?
No.
John, thank you I appreciate your honesty. I think I know what Justin's next Vox is. Would you be okay with your daughter getting her knockers out on page 3? I'm shocked by that. I haven't got daughters. I've got a beautiful niece who's obviously 6 or 7. I can't remember these days. They grow so fast. The thought of her looking at something like that and thinking that is a sensible career option breaks my heart.
My daughters have asked me about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. 08459 455 555. Honestly, he hesitated a bit. Would you mind if your daughter, fellas, worked as a page 3 model and got her boobs out?
Pete the Meat has sent the same text he sent yesterday.
Hello, Pete.
And I think it sums it up. I like looking at a nice pair of front bumps. You know they're attached to a person.
And also...
It doesn't matter, does it?
Google it. Google it. Why has it got to be thrust upon everybody else? Anyway, this has really caught your imagination, and we've had lots of emails, lots of texts about this. We've also had... Well, Catherine, why don't you explain what we've got here, because this could get a little bit uncomfortable, and I should probably try and remain impartial.
What, this reporter off?
Yeah.
Reporter Smackdown?
Yeah.
Well, Katya's on the line now.
Morning, Katya.
Hello, good morning. It's a bit early for me. I'm not used to that early.
Well, look, if this is going to become a career, which I think it might, Katya, you're going to have to get up a little bit earlier than this.
Katya, say hello to Justin.
Hello, Justin. Hello, Justin.
Morning, Katya. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm so excited to be talking to you.
Well, I'm very excited to be talking to you with a voice like that. Wow.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Listen, I think that I've got a bit of audio. I did it for you, but I didn't really. Well, kind of. I don't know. It's in the morning. I'm not used to talk in the morning.
Okay.
You
Guys,
recorded...
Can you explain what's going on here?
You recorded a little piece for us, Katya, where you're quite dismissive of Justin Dealey and his work. Very rude.
Okay.
But I've got to say, I think you've got the goods. Shall we have a listen?
Let's do that.
Hello, dear listeners. My name is Katya, and just like the J-Dog, I'm taking it to the streets. Except it's a little bit cold today, so I'm calling some friends to see what they think about the big topic of the day, which is the demise of the page 3 girl. First of all, here's Charlie in Belgium, who seems rather passionate about the whole issue.
Me, as a Belgian citizen, I'm against this demise. It's really awful. It's shocking. I want my page 3 girl again, in the name of all Belgian citizens.
I then rang Daniel in the Netherlands, who's got a rather different view on the whole thing.
As long as boobs don't disappear in general, then I think it's a good thing, because I think newspapers don't have to show the latest naked boobs. next to the weather.
And finally, here's Lloyd in the UK, and I really hope that his mum is not listening to this.
Some may say it's a sad day. Quite happy to flip through all the pages. Maybe they should move it to page 4, maybe page 5. You can have a boob on each page. Wouldn't be a problem.
So that's all from me, and watch out, J-Dog, there's another dog on the streets.
Very, very good. Very, very good. One slight problem, though, Katya. Well, two slight problems. If you want to be me, you've got to get up early in the morning. And secondly, you can't just ring your mates. You've got to go on the streets, all right?
Okay, but, I don't have a fancy recording machine like you have.
I tell you what, I'm going to make you a deal right now.
Right.
Ian, are you okay with this? Ian, do you trust me?
Justin, I trust you implicitly.
Well, hang on a minute. Wait.
No, I trust Justin. He's only let us down, a dozen times?
Yeah.
No, never let you down once in 2 years. You know that. So, every Friday, Ian, you have an open-door policy, don't you?
That's right.
Yes.
Thanks for reminding me. 7:30 till 8 o'clock, yes.
People come into the studio, you've had some great people in. I'll tell you what, Katya, on a Friday, I'm going to have my open-door policy. Why don't you
steal my idea?
Why don't you come onto the streets with me and we can work together? How does that sound?
That sounds really excellent, actually. Yeah, why not?
There you go.
You going to come down and do it, Katya?
Okay, let's do that. Not this Friday, because I'm in Grantham. It takes a bit of planning, but definitely I will join you on the street.
You'll need to wear some gloves and some tight clothing.
Okay.
That's for the warmth, Katya. That's not him just being a deviant. Katya, excellent work. Keep sending them in, won't you?
No problem.
Thank you very much. She was good, Just.
Well done. Very, very good. Very impressive.
What do you reckon? Taking it to the streets, would you be happy for your daughter to be a page 3 model?
Yeah, great call a minute ago. I was listening to that thinking, if I had a daughter, how would I feel? But then again, there are certain things that I do in my job right now that my family are not happy with.
What?
So... Well, some of the things that we get up to can be, let's just say, quite dangerous at certain points, and a little bit dodgy. So I think every single job, somebody's family won't be happy with it. And if that person's earning a lot of money from that,
I remember years ago when I was a struggling little stand-up comedian, I did a show with a friend of mine, and at the end of it we had a filthy song called My Is Bigger Than Yours. Yeah. Filthy. Really filthy. And my mum came and saw the show, and all the way up to, I think, oh no, she's going to hate me, because she was kind of basically subbing this lifestyle.
Yeah.
And she loved it. The only time my mum has ever told me off for something I did was on the 11 o'clock show, TV programme I did years ago, where I made a joke about the Queen Mum. And she phoned me up the next day and said, Ian, I've just got to say, please don't make jokes about the Queen Mother. That was really disrespectful. The only time she's ever told me off.
I mean, I can think of far worse jobs that people's daughters could be doing. Far worse than that.
What?
I think you know what I'm talking about.
Prostitutes?
Completely naked in films. It could be a lot...
Thank you, Justin. It could be a lot worse.
But how many of these girls go on to a career in it? Most of them are chewed up and spat out and end up back at the, deli counter within weeks. And then everyone's seen their bits.
It's a simple question. Would you be happy for your daughter to get them out in a newspaper? 08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M1 southbound, there are hour-long delays because there's only one lane open between junction 13 for Bedford and 12 for Flitwick after an accident. Queues are taking an hour from junction 14 for Milton Keynes, but northbound from junction 12 for Flitwick, it's starting to look very slow as well on the speed sensors. We've been told that people are slowing down to look at the accident on the opposite carriageway, making that very slow. On the A1M northbound, it's partially blocked by an accident at junction 6 for Welwyn Garden City, with queues from junction 4 for Hertford. On the A5 southbound, that's looking very slow between Lynch Hill and the M1 junction 9 for Redbourne, and in High Wycombe on Amersham Hill, that's looking very busy as well on the speed sensors. No reports of any major problems on the trains. It's Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Samantha. So lots to phone in about the front end of cars being... Well, these stories are all kind of linked. They often involve front ends. The front end of cars being stolen. Has it happened to you or a friend? Would you be happy for your daughter to be a page 3 model? And ever been mistaken for the opposite sex? We'll speak after the news with Simon.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 8 o'clock. The headlines: training in Bucks schools to spot radicalisation. Bed's police chief writes open letter to faith leaders. And Milton Keynes trophy theft to feature on Crime Watch.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Training is taking place in Buckinghamshire schools to spot signs of children at risk of radicalisation. Buckinghamshire County Council, which covers Wickham, one of the high priority areas, is being praised by the Home Office for its work in being fully prepared for next month's legislation. Pete Oliphant is from Thames Valley Police.
What Buckinghamshire knows is that this legislation is likely to come into force next month, and therefore they're ensuring that all their education establishments within Buckinghamshire understand the dangers, understand the vulnerabilities and address the risks.
Meanwhile, the Bedfordshire Chief Constable, Colette Paul, has written an open letter to faith leaders in the county, urging them to work with police in identifying extremists in the wake of the Paris attacks. She says Bed's police will be stepping up patrols in Jewish and Muslim communities. And a Hertfordshire taxi driver will be sentenced next month after admitting helping his cousin to return to the UK after fighting in Syria. 44-year-old Tahir Bhatti from Watford drove jihadist Imran Khawaja back to the UK from Bulgaria in June last year. Khawaja had faked his own death in a bid to try and trick the security services. MPs from across the political spectrum have criticised a decision not to publish the report by the Chilcot inquiry into the Iraq War until after the general election. The former Attorney General and Beaconsfield MP Dominic Grieve says the report should have been out before Christmas.
My understanding's always been that all that process was finished by the middle of last year. So what I don't understand is, when did the process of consulting the people who might be criticised in this report actually commence? Because I would have expected it to be possible to have done that in the course of the autumn and to have published this report before Christmas.
Age UK claims that hundreds of thousands of older people who need social care are being left high and dry by a lack of funding and services. The charity says the number of people over 65 receiving help from their local authority has been falling steadily. The theft of trophies from the Milton Keynes headquarters of the Red Bull Formula One team features on the BBC's Crime Watch programme tonight. It will show CCTV footage of thieves using a car to smash their way into the Tilbrook base in December. Several trophies were later found in a lake in Berkshire, but no one has been arrested. Red Bull's team boss is Christian Horner.
It was a pointless crime, the value of which, these trophies is minimal in terms of the raw material. But the emotional value is huge, and it'd be great to see those trophies back in their rightful home here in Milton Keynes.
In sport, Andy Murray has won his second round match at the Australian Open Tennis. He beat the Australian Marinko Matasevic in straight sets. The weather mostly dry and cloudy, but some outbreaks of rain or sleet are possible. A maximum temperature just 4 degrees Celsius. And you can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
Thank you, Simon. Morning, Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. If you've just tuned in, you missed a spontaneous interview at about 20 to 7 with Howard Kalin. Who he? He's only one of the Turtles. Happy together. Eleanor. Supposed to be interviewing him tomorrow. I got a frantic text from him. Hey, man, where are you? They did it a day early. They'll be in the podcast. Also spoke to her dad, who'd be more than happy for me to stare at his daughter's unbrad breasts. Didn't seem that bothered at all, did he?
Roy, if you're still listening in your truck, can you ring back again? I've got your number down.
Roy, we want to speak to you in your truck.
Roy had an interesting view, and we're taking yours too.
That fella didn't mind. We're talking about, would you let your daughter be page 3?
He did mind.
He did mind, didn't he? But he went with the argument that, no, listen, if his daughter wanted to do that and display her wonderful body, he'd be happy with it. This is all because page 3, well, if anything, I think it's worse. It's worse, isn't it? It's right mucky today. Ever been mistaken for a member of the opposite sex? Kath got mistaken for a bloke yesterday in Costa. It was embarrassing. And ever had the front end of your car nicked? Turns out it happens a lot, but only to Vauxhall Corsas. Why? 08 459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
You can text as well. 81333. Start your text 3CR. Roy from Barnsley. Morning, Roy.
Morning.
What you got for us, boss?
Basically, yeah, I wouldn't want people staring at my daughter's boobs when she's older. I want people to respect her for who she is. You know, it's degrading to women, really, isn't it?
Now, isn't it funny how we make judgments on people's voices and what they do? You're a trucker, and you sound like the kind of bloke I would imagine that in the past has perhaps enjoyed Page 3. Would that be right?
No, not really. It's you know, you got to respect. I mean, obviously, I like women and I like the figure, but it's you got to respect them for who they are. It's at the end of the day, it's more about the intellect than it is the person.
Well, this is what has your opinion changed at all since you've had your daughter?
Yeah, probably. I must admit, it's. I mean, she's only 4 now, bless her. But you know, when she gets older, I want people to.
Well, of course you do. And she's your little girl, and you want to protect her. And I think it is. I haven't got daughters, but I always think Catherine and I always joke it'd be great if Justin had a daughter, because I think if for some blokes having a girl in their life like that, it just opens their eyes slightly, doesn't it?
It certainly changes your opinion. It's. I mean, I've got 2 lads as well, but having children does open your eyes to a lot of things.
Have you seen Page 3 today in The Sun?
I haven't yet, no.
Well, I'll be interested in your thoughts. It's on Page 5, and it's Alicia Duval and Katie Price, old pictures, and... Well, I would say this is more sexually exciting than Page 3. They've got one's got pants on and like a very tight bra, and one's got a one-piece, slightly see-through body. I would say this is in some ways more damaging.
Yeah, well, it leaves it open for imagination, doesn't it?
Yeah. Right, listen, it's good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Billy Crush. Morning, Billy.
Hello there. A very good morning to you.
Very good morning to you, Bill. What have you got for us?
Yeah, I'm always listening to your programme, of course, with much joy. All this hoo-ha about Page 3. Yes. I'm 94, as you know, and I can't see anything wrong in admiring a beautiful lady, providing it's natural. I mean, so many things now I use this silicone business in my young day.
Most of the women on Page 3, Billy, it's all silicone.
Is it?
Yeah, there's hardly any of them are real on Page 3. It's all silicone.
And
what's wrong, Billy, with looking at a beautiful woman's face? Why have we got to see her nipples or her breasticles?
Now listen, in 1942, I was in London, in London, and time again I went to the windmill. We never closed, and we could see the real thing there.
Oh, well, they weren't allowed to move then, were they?
Pardon?
They weren't allowed to move then, were they? They had to stand still.
Oh yes, they had to stand still. If you look very closely, you could see them breathing. And of course, when the siren went or the bomb, you could hear the thud of the bombs. Yeah. Of course, they dived off the stage.
So you were hoping that Jerry would drop a few doodlebugs.
And then, of course, you got a little bit of a bonus, shall we say.
You got a what? A little bit of a what?
It doesn't seem very clear this morning.
No, but did you say bonus?
The bonus, because they moved to dive down to the shelter.
Billy, thank you very much indeed.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties
Breathe a sigh of relief. Breathe a sigh of relief. Oh, dear. Excuse me. Now, work in tackling extremism by schools, police and councils in Buckinghamshire is being heralded by the Home Office. Next month, new legislation comes into force, which means schools will be duty-bound to act if they suspect anyone is prone to being radicalised. Well, High Wycombe and Luton are among 30 high-priority areas identified by the government. We have no idea what Luton is doing, if anything, as they won't tell us. So the impression is they're not doing a lot, whereas places in Buckinghamshire, well, as we've already discussed, are getting a big thumbs up from the Home Office. Let's speak to Joy Shakespeare, chair of the Channel Panel at Bucks County Council. Morning, Joy.
Good morning.
Big Channel Panel, what is that? What does it do?
Well, the Channel Panel, it's a group of people from all the sector agencies, all the public sector agencies, working together to keep children, young people, adults safe from the risk of radicalisation.
And how do you do that?
OK, well, we gather together on a monthly basis, and we're taking referrals from schools, the community, the police, about those people who they feel are at risk of becoming radicalised. And that way we can then put together a package of support with the individual's knowledge and consent to reduce their risk of being drawn into criminal activity.
What? It's interesting you said with their... What if they say, no, I'm not interested?
Well, if they say no, they're not interested, then we will try persuading them, obviously, but in the end, then that is their choice not to engage.
So because listen, it sounds like a great idea to spot this at the earliest opportunity, of course. But if they are too far down that route of radicalisation, whatever that means, that they're happy with the way they're going, then there is nothing you can do, is there, to prevent that happening?
Well, there's nothing that Channel can do, but of course there are other things that the police particularly can do, and that's not my area.
Wickham is a priority area. Why is that?
Well, that's been identified by the Home Office and by the police as being an area where people are more at risk of being drawn into radicalisation.
And why is that in particular? Is it just high numbers of certain communities? Is it the history? What is that reason, do you think?
I think there's been quite a bit in the national press quite recently about particular individuals, for example, who have gone to Syria. So that gives an indication of why High Wycombe is seen as at risk.
And why is Bucks doing so well? It's kind of had a big thumbs up from the Home Office. What are you doing right?
Well, this is because we've already put in place the things that the new legislation is planning. In other words, we've had a standing panel now for about 2 years, which has meant that we've developed a trusting working relationship between agencies in talking about these really difficult subjects. And we've also developed really good relationships with, say, for example, schools and the community.
Joy, good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Joy Shakespeare, chair of the Channel Panel at Bucks County Council.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
What you got, Boyley?
From one lot of front ends to another.
There you go.
Courses. No wonder these front ends of courses are being stolen. They're a popular car for new young drivers who pay astronomical prices for insurance. If they've had a prank, it's a lot easier for them to pay a few £100 to people who'll steal parts to order than go down the insurance claim route. If I was young again and paying the ridiculous prices they have to, I'd probably go down that route as well, says Gary in Luton.
08459 455 555. We're also asking, would you be happy for your daughter to be on page 3, as was, with everything out on display? Roy's in Bedford. Morning, Roy.
Good morning, good morning.
What you got for us?
Right, obviously, myself personally, I would not be happy with my child or any of my siblings or any relatives bearing themselves in the nude in the paper. But that's because of my personal family and our own opinion. However, the women that are in these page 3 magazines, they're choosing to be. They've agreed to the terms of a contract and they're getting paid for it and are quite happy.
So you don't want to look at your daughter's breasts, but you're happy to look at somebody else's daughter's breasts?
I don't look at them things at all in those papers.
OK, have you got a daughter?
I haven't. I'm 25 with a stepson.
OK, have you got any... If you had a daughter, you say you wouldn't be happy for her to do it, but if it was her own choice and if she'd signed the contract, then you'd have to wish her good luck, wouldn't you?
What can you do? There's nothing you can do. But another thing I'm saying is, when have you come across page 3 unless you was looking for it?
Sorry?
How have you ever come across page 3 without looking for it?
Yeah, you open the paper.
But if you know that's in that paper, why are you going to go looking at that paper? Well, you know that's what the Sun's about.
Is it?
It's Britain's biggest selling newspaper, Roy, and in this job, I kind of had to look at most of the newspapers. And also, you can't put the argument, if you don't want to see the boobs, don't look at page 3. Surely the argument should be...
But you can. Because
you can, but it's a really weak argument. Surely the argument should be, Roy, it shouldn't be there in the first place. Kids can pick that up on the train. Kids can get on a bus and it's there and they pick it up. That's not right, is it?
But then there's top shelf magazines that could be left anywhere and they can be picked up
very
anywhere.
Rarely do I see a copy of Razzle left on the Underground. I often see a copy of The Sun.
Agreed. But I've worked in an environment where there's females about, and obviously I believe that looking at that kind of thing amongst other females is disrespectful. So I skip the first page.
You shouldn't have to, though. You shouldn't have to, should you?
But also, Catherine, as a woman, right?
I find it a bit embarrassing when we're doing the paper review and you and I are both looking at the newspapers, and sometimes they do put funny things on page 3. Often it's a comedy short at the side, isn't there?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's old-fashioned, isn't it? There are other places you can get boobs these days. You don't have to have it in a paper.
It can be done without, but the fact that it's...
Right.
I also don't think it's all the paper's about. I mean, it shouldn't be, should it?
Right, we've lost you. It was a bad point, poorly made, but I'm glad you made it. Thank you. Call again on a better line next time, please.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M1 southbound, it's down to one lane between junctions 13 for Bedford and 12 for Flitwick because of a serious accident. It's causing hour-long delays from junction 14 for Milton Keynes. And northbound on the M1 from junction 12 for Flitwick, it's starting to get very slow with people looking at the accident on the opposite side. In Markgate, the A5 southbound's very heavy as a result of people diverting away from the M1. It's looking very slow between Lynch Hill and the M1 junction 9 for Redbourne. The A1M northbound has queues because of an accident that happened at junction 6 for Welwyn Garden City. Between there and junction 4 for Hertford, that's looking very slow. In Watford on Rickmansworth Road, that's looking very busy on the speed sensors around the Town Hall roundabout, and the A40 out of towards the M25 from the Denham roundabout is looking very slow because there's a lane blocked by a broken down vehicle. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Samantha. 8:16. It's Wednesday, the 21st of January. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Training is taking place in Buckinghamshire schools to spot signs of children at risk of radicalisation. Bedfordshire Chief Constable Colette Paul has written an open letter to faith leaders in the county in the wake of the Paris attacks, and the theft of trophies from the Milton Keynes headquarters of the Red Bull Formula One team is going to be on Crime Watch tonight.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now that I would describe as mauve. There's no other word for it, is it? I'm never quite sure the difference between mauve and purple and violet. That is mauve.
Mauve?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I'd thought this was purple.
Hang on a second. What are you saying, Kath?
I would say that is heather.
Oh,
I can't hear.
She's saying heather.
Heather. Lavender. Is it lavender?
Shall we
Yes,
settle
it's
on...
nearer to lavender,
We're going to
yeah.
settle on lavender. Yeah, you're looking very lavender today.
Thanks very much. I take that as a compliment.
It is a compliment.
You're looking very clean-shaven.
I had a shave.
By the way, I've got a bone to pick with you.
Aye.
Last night, I was flicking through the television channels, and a programme came on.
Oh,
and I
yes.
thought, do you know what? I think my cat would quite like to watch this.
Yes.
It's called something like, I don't know, Cats Do the Funniest Things.
They are hilarious, cats.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And so I flicked it on, and my cat's watching it. He was loving it. And I thought, I know that voice from somewhere.
No.
It was you, wasn't it?
It was me. It wasn't Stephen Mulhern, as some people thought on Twitter. It was me, yes.
But you sounded a bit different.
Oh. I did the
notice?
I did the voiceover for it, and we did about 10 minutes, and the guy said, look, right, Ian, we're going to start again. Could you just be a little less sarcastic, please? So there's me going, have a look at this crazy cat from Russia. It can't even jump onto a wall. And then I had to do it, have a look at this crazy cat from Russia. It can't even jump onto a wall. Did that sound good?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
You didn't sound so sarcastic.
I sounded sincere. They made me do it again, yeah.
You sounded a bit younger as well.
That's a computer effect.
Oh, really?
I always insist they put that on, yes, to make me sound boyish.
Oh.
It was a good programme. When it cats do the funniest things, it turns out.
Have I ever told you about the time I went for an audition at Thames Radio?
No.
This was many years ago, and I sent a demo tape to Thames Radio.
Never heard of it.
No, it's down in Kingston.
Right.
And they called me in, the editor called me in. He said, we like your demo. Come in. Well, my demo, I sounded like me.
Yeah.
You know, this funny old voice.
Yes.
Anyway, so he said, we want to sit you in a studio and we're going to try you for a new 70s show we're going to do.
Fantastic.
It's going to be you playing all the 70s hits. I said, OK. So they put me in this studio and he said, right, go on then. So I did my thing and he came through. He said, you sound a bit old. Is there any chance you could just raise the pitch of your voice a little bit?
Isn't that...
I said, well, I can try. So I started doing the show like this, and he
Barry
came through.
Walker.
He said, could you take it just a bit higher? And we want to change your name to Johnny Gold. So by the
I don't know what you're laughing
by
at.
the end, I go, this is Thames Radio with me, Johnny Gold. He said, that's it. I said, I don't think this is going to work. And I didn't get a job at Thames Radio as a result.
Johnny Gold, you should never have told me that.
I could have been Johnny Gold playing the 70s hits. It was going to be called something like the Glitter Ball Hour on Thames Radio.
You can't say glitter balls anymore. After what's going on.
I thank the Lord every day I didn't get a job at Thames Radio.
What was it, Johnny Golden?
Johnny Gold.
Johnny Gold and the glitter balls.
Yeah. With a high-pitched voice.
Gosh, could have
That
been so
would have been me.
It could have been a different world, couldn't it? Well, I'm glad that Johnny Gold and his glitter balls didn't make it, because it means we've got JVS.
That's
here.
true. That's true.
The legend that is. What's on your show this morning?
Europe. Have you seen the front page of today's Daily Express? It's behind you there on the... Go on, have a look. You probably gloss over it frequently, as many of us do.
80% want to quit the EU. Yes, I saw that.
80% of people apparently want to leave Europe. This figure, we had a look into it because we thought, hang on a minute, is this one of these polls that the Daily Express has just made up?
It's not, it's 2 Tory MPs, isn't it, they've done it?
Well, 3, apparently. Right. The result of polling in 3 Conservative constituencies up in Northamptonshire.
Right.
And it comes in the same week that the former Prime Minister John Major tells a European magazine that each generation of Britons is more European than the last. He also warned that if the UK severs its ties with Brussels, it'll lose some of its influence and power. Meanwhile, the pro-European Tory MP, Laura Sandys, who's announced that she won't stand against Nigel Farage in Thanet South this year, has told The Guardian that if we exit the EU, this country would be irretrievably damaged politically and economically. Well, from 9 this morning, and I think Europe is a difficult discussion to have on the radio, because I think actually the vast majority of us don't understand enough about it.
I don't know enough about it to vote either way, no.
And I think that's why people sometimes can feel a little bit awkward about calling in with their opinion, because they don't want to look like an idiot. Well, let me just make it quite clear this morning, from 9...
You can look like an idiot if you want.
Well, no, seriously, you can. And if anybody just wants to phone in and say, look, I can't really back this up with any fact, but this is just my gut reaction, I'd be very happy to have your call.
I think most people if there were a referendum, would vote on what the last front page of their newspaper told them to vote.
Really?
Yeah, I think they would. And I don't know enough. I consider myself quite well read. I haven't got a clue about Europe.
It's really complicated.
Oh, of course it is, yeah.
It's really complicated. Well, from 9 this morning, I'd like your gut reaction to this. Do you want Britain to stay in Europe? John Major says that actually we are becoming more pro-European. We are very likely to vote to stay in Europe. However, this front page of the Express today says 80% of us want to get out. Well, what about you? 08459 455 555 from 9.
Every weekday from 12.
We're talking to Alice Jones about her journey, which has landed her in the arms of Youthscape.
When I was 5, my dad left our family. It's your first inclination to go, I must have done something naughty.
Nick Coffer.
I was in a really vulnerable place. The people at Youthscape, it is literally their job to show you that they love you and care about you and whatever you're going through.
Every day my job's a privilege, but every once in a while it's an even bigger privilege because I get to meet people like you.
Nick Coffer on BBC Three Counties Radio.
You're right, Catherine, to remind me, we're laughing at Johnny Gold.
Yeah, Ian McCartney.
I was Ian McCartney at FM 103 Horizon because Helen Lee worked there.
Yeah.
Lee's not my real name, it is now, but it wasn't. Rugby is my name I was given with, and I was toying with changing it to Lee at the time, and that's the name I was working under. And Helen Lee was there, spelt differently, but the boss at the time thought it would be too confusing for the listener because you're all dumb. Thought it'd be too confusing for the listener to have two people with the same surname. Mm-hmm. So we had this meeting where we sat in the office and he says, you've got to come up with a pseudonym, you've got a different name. And it's the hardest thing to do. And we sat there and it was really awkward. And I said, what's your favourite group? I went, all the Beatles. He went, go on, pick one of their names. I went, all right, Star. He said, no, we're not having that. So I'm doing them in order of my favourite Beatles. Ian Harrison? No, that wouldn't work. Lennon? He went, Ian Lennon. No. I said, McCartney? Yeah, that'll do. You're Ian McCartney. And that was it. Terrible, really, isn't it? Really. 08459 455 555. Ever had to change your name, dear listeners? Now, we've been talking about the Luton man who's had his car pinched. Well, half of his car pinched. Lee Turner is missing the front end of his car. When his girlfriend called the police, she was told they wouldn't send anyone out because it's really common. Well, judging from your reaction when we discussed it on Monday, it is really common. And the stories you told us suggest these dodge pots can have it away with your motor in broad daylight, apparently in minutes. We can speak to Steve Fowler, Editor-in-Chief of Auto Express magazine. Morning, Steve.
Good morning.
I'm really shocked by this. Are you?
Sadly not. Oh. No, because all these parts have a value. And they have quite a value. Because if you want a new bonnet for your car, it's actually quite expensive. So it's no surprise really that there is a black market for these types of things.
How easy is it to take the whole front end of someone's car?
Worryingly easy, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I think the car makers concentrate on their vehicles not being stolen because that has an effect on insurance ratings. Yeah. If you get a lower insurance group, people are more likely to buy your car because it's cheaper to insure. But I think this is becoming an increasing issue, that of parts theft. It was fairly big a while ago, but not necessarily body parts. Yeah. But obviously, it is way, way too easy. I know how easy it is to open a bonnet if you can get underneath the car. It's way too easy with a spanner set and a couple of screwdrivers to be away with most of the front end of a car.
And how long does it take?
Minutes. You'd be absolutely amazed. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, in most cases, once you're into a car, by smashing a window, and who takes any notice of car alarms if they go off? No, they don't. Once you're into the car, you can open the bonnet fairly easily, and once the bonnet's open, you've got free access to everything that's under there. One thing that Ford did a while ago, and to be honest, I don't know if they're still doing it, but they used to have locks. You used to have to be able to unlock your bonnet with the key.
Oh, okay.
So whether that's something that we should start seeing in the future.
That's actually quite a sensible idea, isn't it? Because you just pull that little lever out by the driver's seat and you're in.
Absolutely, yeah. And at least, hidden behind the old blue oval of the Ford was a traditional key thing. You put your key in, you turn it, the bonnet pops up.
Vauxhall Corsas. All of our stories we've heard this morning and the last few days, Steve, have been Vauxhall Corsas.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't read too much into that. The thing about the Vauxhall Corsa is it's a very common car. It's sells in huge numbers. There's a lot of them out there, so you would assume there's an awful lot of demand for Vauxhall Corsa parts as well. There may well be an issue that it's easier than others to strip some of the parts, and that's something that Vauxhall should be looking into as a matter of urgency, I'd say.
And the police aren't that interested, and I kind of, got a bit angry, but then Jill has sent me an email that says, well, why would the police go and have a look? There's no CCTV, there's no fingerprints, there's nothing they can do.
I mean, I think that's just a sad indication of what's happening with the police these days. They don't have the manpower, they don't have the resources. I would like to think that they would attend every single crime scene, but obviously they have to draw a line somewhere. But it's very worrying. I mean, my wife has a car at the moment. Its heated seat has gone. Oh, heavens forbid, she can't turn her heated seat on. But the dealer wants £1,300 to mend a heated seat.
Wow.
So, you can see there would be a black market in things like that. If somebody wants, it's cheaper to go and take one from another car.
Yeah. I'll get you one for a couple of £100. Is there anything that people can do, Steve? I suppose there isn't, is there?
Well, the best advice, the old advice, is to make sure that your car is parked in a well-lit place and that you do take care of things. You do always leave it locked. Yes, I know people can put a brick through the window. Don't leave stuff on display. But, that's the best advice. Make sure you park somewhere that's busy and well-lit. And some of these stories I've heard and pictures I've seen of cars parked way down in the dark corner of the car park. And it's obviously easier if a car's parked there than if it's under a street lamp.
I'd agree. They're obviously getting bolder and braver, these idiots, because a couple of the stories we've had today, they've just been parked on normal residential streets outside someone's house.
But the trouble is, let's be honest, if somebody wears a high-vis vest, you think they've got some sort of authority, don't you? So if you turn up in a van with a high-vis vest and start stripping a car, a lot of people wouldn't ask any questions. It's the curse of the high-vis vest.
Steve, listen, well, we've said that before on the show. You wear a high-vis vest, you can get away with... for a TV programme, I broke into someone's house with a high-vis vest. I talked my way into their house just because I had a high-vis vest on. Wow. Steve, good to talk to you. Steve Fowler, Editor-in-Chief of Auto Express magazine.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
There are hour-long delays on the M1 southbound between junction 14 for Milton Keynes and 13 for Bedford. That's taken an hour to get through because of an accident, but there are just 2 lanes closed there now. On the M1 northbound, it's looking very slow around junction 12 for Flitwick, with people slowing down to have a look. And it's also causing queues on the A421 southbound, with the usual traffic from Master Mauritania towards the M1 being made worse by the problems there on the M1. On the A1M northbound, there was an accident earlier at junction 6 for Welwyn Garden City, and that's still causing queues to junction 4 for Hertford, although all the lanes are back open again. On the North Circular Road, there are queues westbound between Powis Lane and the Great Cambridge Interchange because of an accident. And in Denham on the Western Avenue, the A40 heading towards the M25 has delays from the Denham roundabout because of a breakdown on the exit slip road, which is blocking it. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 8:30, I'm Simon Oxley. Training is taking place in Buckinghamshire schools to spot signs of children at risk of radicalisation. Meanwhile, the Bedfordshire Chief Constable, Colette Paul, has written an open letter to faith leaders in the county, urging them to work with police in identifying extremists in the wake of the Paris attacks. Motorists are facing long delays on the M1 in Bedfordshire this morning after a crash involving 2 lorries and a car on the southbound carriageway between junctions 13 and 12. The Highways Agency say 2 lanes are now open. And the theft of trophies from the Milton Keynes headquarters of the Red Bull Formula 1 team features on the BBC's Crime Watch programme tonight. It will show CCTV footage of thieves using a car to smash their way into the Tilbrook base in December.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Liverpool and Chelsea drew 1-1 at Anfield last night in the first leg of their League Cup semi-final. Here's Chelsea manager Jose Mourinho.
The good thing is that a 2 legs semi-final now becomes a 1 leg semi-final. Because of a draw, we know that the goals away in the 90 minutes, the goals are not considered. So the match at Stamford Bridge, Liverpool has to win and Chelsea has to win. So it becomes only 1 leg, but in our house where obviously we are more comfortable.
Tonight, Tottenham host Sheffield United in the first leg of their semi-final. Watford remains 7 points behind Championship leaders Bournemouth after the South Coast side's 1-0 defeat at Leeds last night. Milton Keynes Dons remain third in League One after 4th place Preston could only draw 1-1 at home to Yeovil. Stevenage have confirmed the permanent signing of midfielder David McAllister after a successful loan spell. Wickham have confirmed that manager Gareth Ainsworth's new contract is a 5.5-year deal, and last night's Hearts Senior Cup tie between Hemel Hempstead and Watford was postponed. Andy Murray has won his second round match of the Australian Open tennis. He's beaten the Australian Marinko Matasevic in straight sets.
It was a great atmosphere today. Obviously, anytime you play against an Australian in Australia, they get fantastic support, and I really enjoyed the match today. Fun atmosphere to play in, so thanks everyone. Even if not everyone was supporting me, it was still it was still good fun, and thank you.
And in rugby, England coach Stuart Lancaster will name his training squad for the match against Wales this morning. The final squad for the Six Nations will be selected on January the 31st. BBC Three Counties News and Sports. The next full bulletin is at 9.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Catherine, a little recap of where we've been today. Been all over the shop
and
today.
the texts are representing that, the fact that we're talking about 2 sets of front ends, page 3, and missing ones from courses.
The thing about page 3 is I want to move it on slightly from yesterday. You can let us know if you feel duped by the fact that page 3 is still there. It's just the nipples are covered up.
Oh, no one really thought it was going, did they?
I kind of did. I'm so naive. But the question is, would you mind if your daughter was a page 3 model, was getting them out?
You know Billy rang earlier on.
Billy Crush.
How old's Billy?
93.
Right. How do you feel about him looking at your daughter's boobs?
And we had one caller who said...
Because he says it's a bit of fun, it's only a still.
We had one caller who said he wouldn't mind if his daughter did it. I find that very hard to believe.
He said that, but his voice kind of quavered a little.
Very, very hard to believe.
I think you would mind, but I think I've been thinking about it.
I bet you have.
the trouble is, there's nothing you can do. It's not if you tell your offspring, whether it's male or female, not to do something, they're going to want to do it. Yeah. And ultimately, they have the freedom of choice. I wouldn't like it, but I'd have to support them.
It doesn't start with a conversation about that decision. It starts with bringing your daughters up to respect themselves. And to know that they are worth more.
I would feel that if my fictional daughter were to have done it, that I would have failed somewhere in bringing her up. And also, you're right. You don't have to like it. I don't think you have to support it either. You don't have to support all of your kids' decisions in life. If you think they're making a bad decision, you can say, "Look, I love you. I'm not supporting that decision," and walk away from it. I think that's a valid. Well, we're some years off that, I think, Catherine.
Yeah, I would. And I would rather... I've always told my daughters, and they are still little, but I tell them, and I think it's important to tell them, I'd rather you told me the truth than lied to me about it. I might not like to hear it, but I'd rather know, so I can be there to help you out.
But I like to think if they could justify it...
How could they justify it?
OK, let's say...
These girls are doing it because they think it's the way to get famous. Famous for what?
Not necessarily. I wouldn't say we could prescribe every person on page 3 is doing it to get famous necessarily. Maybe it's a way of making some money quite quickly. Yeah. For a short period of time. It's not like they're going to be doing it for until they're 40 or 50. And that money might be useful for them. That money might allow them to buy their first house.
But then you might as well say
no, it won't be that much.
Then you might as well say, well, they might as well go. You might as well go and be a lap dancer if you want to do that. You'd have to support them if they wanted to be a lap dancer in a club. Would that be okay? Then you keep going until you eventually get to the bit where they're turning tricks in an alleyway to make money. Well, would you support that?
I think that's a massive leap.
But you're saying you have to support them in whatever they decide to do.
I'm not saying you have to support them. I'm saying that I think if they were able to justify it, maybe I wouldn't like that decision, but if they felt it was the right decision for them, then I would support them with that. As
a bloke, you wait until you have a daughter. If you have a daughter, you have kids. As a bloke, I know what goes through my head. What has been through my head, particularly when I was a younger, friskier man, and still when I look at pictures of naked women. I know what's going through my head. I know what went through my head as a lusty 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old boy.
Listen,
terrible thoughts.
When I started going out with lads, my dad became Victorian father, right? Terrifying. This kind of distant figure. He was never pally with them. He always had them on the back foot. When we had our first child, and it was a girl, my husband said, "Suddenly I understand your dad." Yeah. Because you know what men are like. What some men can be like, and you want to protect them from that. I don't know.
I suppose it's abstract for me at the minute, so it's difficult.
When's it not going to be abstract?
Fairly soon.
How long have you got? Are you allowed to say, or is it top secret?
I'd rather not say.
OK, fine, fair enough. OK. But yeah, it'll be interesting. The thing is, once that pops out, whatever sex it is...
It's a weird shift, isn't it?
Everything changes, man. Everything changes, and you can't put it into words, and it sounds like baloney. But your whole psyche, your whole purpose, your whole reason for being on this planet shifts seismically. It's incredible.
And not just the men thinking, suddenly I want to protect this person. I also think, now I've got daughters, flipping heck, if my mum knew what I'd been up to, she would have a heart attack.
Yeah. Well, listen, I wish you the best luck. I hope it all goes smoothly. It's an exciting time, man. You're about to start on... the best adventure you can have. 08459 455 555. Would you mind if your daughter became a page 3 model?
Do you want some texts?
Let's have some texts, then we'll go to Paul about courses.
Alan from Welling. I would be a very proud father if my daughter had a beautiful enough body to be shown in the papers. What's wrong with you, man? If your body was buff, wouldn't you want to show the ladies?
It's different.
It is different.
It's different.
There are a lot of people saying, just have a topless man. Topless man is not the same as a topless woman.
Men and women are sexually excited in different ways, and men are sexually excited visually. They need to look at things. Most women don't get the same feelings and rush of endorphins that men get when they see things. It's slightly different for women. Most women. Give us one more and then we'll do Paul.
If page 3 is so bad and upsetting to certain types of women and their 5-year-old daughters, what do they do when people go on holiday where they go topless? How can they explain that one away? Oh, they don't, says Dave.
Is he having a pop at you? I think that's a pop at you.
Yeah.
You come back to that one, Kath.
OK, so if they're on holiday, they are doing it to get a tan. They're not doing it so you can have a look and take it home and take it in the toilet and show your mates and have a laugh at them.
And they're also not saying, hey, this is a career move, girls. Hey, maybe you could do this if you get some plastic put in your chest.
They're also not saying, hey, have a look at these.
And I flipping hate topless people on the beach. It's horrible.
From my point of view, it's just more skin to burn. Why would you do that?
It's so horrible. I don't like beaches anyway, and I don't like... just the whole swimming costume thing is unpleasant. And they go right up the cracks of their backsides, men and women, some of them. German men. What the hell are you thinking wearing those things? You're going to get a yeast infection, aren't you? Paul's on the line. Morning, Paul.
Morning.
Yeah, you called in about cars, so thankfully, because we're getting close to the wire. What have you got for us?
Basically, my wife went to work in the morning, came back in the house and said, do you know the front of your car's missing?
Oh, blimey.
And I said, oh, right, OK. Went outside and, behold, they'd removed the headlights and the bumper. They'd also broken into the car as well and stole all the contents inside. It's a bit bizarre.
Vauxhall Corsa, by any chance?
Yes, limited edition, white one. Yeah.
Isn't it? Well, that seems to be the target of the thieves.
Yes.
What did you? I mean, you called the police, I'm guessing, Paul. What did they do?
I must admit, they did send what they call the Socco out,
right?
Dusting for prints and everything. Well, I've never heard anything since.
No. And did you?
That was July. That was
July of last year.
Yes.
Okay. And whereabouts do you live?
Hexton, Hertfordshire.
Right, OK. It seems to be... I don't wonder if it's a nationwide thing or if it is a local thing. Did your insurance sort you out, Paul?
They did, but my premium's gone up.
Yeah, I bet. This is the thing. Paul, thank you very much. It's not a great line. I'm going to let you go. That's the thing. Oh, yeah, your insurance will cover it. Man alive, you make any kind of claim on your on car insurance, right up there. The premium, you might as well pay for most things to get fixed yourself on your car insurance.
It's a vicious circle, though, isn't it? Because, I mean, what we're getting through on the text and what we've heard from the experts earlier on was that if people try and go for a bargain, they're funding this kind of continual theft.
Dennis is in Dunstable. Morning, Den.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm a bit banged up and Kath's got a sore throat.
Yeah, well, I've got this cough that comes from nowhere and keeps leading. That's why I'm talking with a very thick throat.
Well, you normally sound very thick anyway, so...
Thank you, but listen to me. Yesterday you were saying there's certain countries you wouldn't visit.
New Zealand?
Yes. How many countries have refused to accept you in the first place?
56, but that's a different matter,
anyway.
Hey, have you got a new telephone?
No.
Because you're not sounding all echoey and rubbish like you're sounding rubbish, but you're not sounding all
Thank
echoey.
you very much.
Like you normally do.
Now then,
you're very welcome.
Young
Moving
ladies
on.
showing their boobs.
End of that conversation, on to the next one. There's the echo. Excellent, yes.
I've got two granddaughters. I would be very upset if anybody started doing that sort of thing. But they're the only two girls in the family. All the rest of the lads, they can show whatever they want.
Yes.
And I did, when I worked for British Aerospace, I went out one night with the lads to one of these strip clubs. It was an office do.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, the lady left me quite cold. Not in the least bit interested in her, honestly. She was a nice figure, but it didn't... No sexual connotation as far as I was concerned. She could have been made out of alabaster for all I would care. But anyway...
It wasn't romantic enough for you. You like the moonlight and the candles?
No, I'm just not into...
You're not into women?
I like my visions in private. Right? I don't want sharing with anybody else.
When was the last time you had a private vision?
Oh, it's a long way back.
It's 2015, if that helps.
A long way back. However, I noticed that the lads really all, come and sit with me, you know, macho bull. I guarantee if that girl had gone anywhere near him, they'd have died of embarrassment.
Here's what I like to do on my nights off, is I like to pay a strange woman a lot of money to take her clothes off for me and then pay her even more money to sit and have a beer with me. That's what I like to do. Listen, I've been to a lap dancing club once, twice, 3 times... definitely twice, at least twice, when I was younger and I was very, very drunk. And boy, oh boy, it just cost me a lot of money and, left me feeling frustrated. It wasn't fun.
No, well, of course, ex-Navy, Malta and various places
No,
like
not
that.
me, Dennis. No, I'm not ex-Navy, mate. You've confused me with someone.
No, I'm saying...
You, sorry.
That went on a lot going on in forces away. But, to me, it was nothing.
To you.
The only thing I remember about that paper is Linda Lusardi. She's the only lady on there that... Because I didn't buy the damn paper to start.
Lovely Linda Lusardi.
She was great.
Feeling quite mardy.
No, she was like... The name alone sounding Italian, that set me off to start with.
There we go. Dennis, you're having a private vision in public, just to let you know.
Have a nice...
Thank you very much indeed. Michael's on the line. Morning, Michael.
Hi there.
What you got for us, Michael?
I've been in motors since 1959.
You want to go out and stretch your legs?
Just a little bit, yeah. Anyway, this has been going on forever.
Oh.
Okay.
The front end of cars being taken?
Sorry?
The front end of cars being taken?
Yes, yeah, all sorts of things. Out in America, back in the 70s, they used to pull up with a van with a hoist on the side and weld into bottles, right? They cut round all of the connections to the engine, pull the engine out and take it.
What? They'd hoik the engine out?
Yeah.
That shows dedication to the cause, doesn't it?
If you had something like a Corvette,
yeah,
you know, or a Mustang or something like that.
Yeah. Was this in Los Angeles?
It was, it was in the more expensive areas, yeah.
Okay, right. Of America?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was back in the 70s and 80s.
Wow. Michael, it sounds terrifying. Imagine that happening to your car. Imagine you come to your car and you go and start it and there's nothing happening.
Well, it'd be like blooming, what was that thing we used to, Candid Camera?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, do you remember the Beetle? Do you remember the Beetle?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about,
Where they
Kath?
dropped it in the canal?
Where they dropped the car in the canal.
Look at his face.
Yeah,
good. He dropped the car in the canal and the fella went ballistic.
How did he not get punched more?
Did he? He must have got punched at some point.
I'm sure they wouldn't have. Probably a film somewhere.
I got punched in the street once doing that kind of stuff.
You're asking for it.
Yeah, you are asking for it.
Well, I suspect they did a little bit of cutting.
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, I would prefer punching. But Michael, thank you very much.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M1 southbound, there are hour-long delays between junction 13 for Bedford and 12 for junction 14 for Milton Keynes and junction 12 for Flitwick because of a serious accident involving 2 lorries and a car. So it's taking an hour to get through there. And also northbound on the M1 between junction 12 for Flitwick and 11 for Dunstable Road, it's looking very slow. In Marston Moortane on the A421, there are queues from the Milton Keynes junction to the M1 junction 13 as a result of that too. But the A1M northbound has all cleared and reopened after the accident at junction 6 for Welling Garden City. In Wendover on the A413, that's been blocked by an accident at Nash Lee Road. Queues are in London Road and Nash Lee Road. And in Bounds Green on the A406 North Circular Road, there are delays because of a breakdown at the Great Cambridge interchange that's causing queues between there and the M25. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Sammy. Hey, text here, a tweet here from Smudger. I love my daughter. I support all her decisions. I'm her father, not a judge. No, you can judge your daughter's decisions. Of course you can.
I would add, I'm my children's mother, not their friend.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to support all of their decisions, and you can still love them. You can say, look, I don't support what you're doing. I love you. I think this is a bad decision.
Here's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, and yeah, you're allowed to judge your kids, Smudger. And also, I would here we go.
I'd rather I judge my kids than the public.
Yeah. If your daughter becomes a page 3 model, you failed as a parent.
Beds, hearts and bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
I didn't even do the headlines because I think that sums it all up. 08459 455 555. Let's get the weather with Kate, please.
Good morning. It's a rather cold, damp and cloudy day across all 3 counties. Some outbreaks of rain this morning. 1 or 2 wintry flurries above high ground possible, but predominantly the temperature is above 0. It's not going to get much warmer, but we're looking at 3, maybe 4 Celsius by the end of today. The rain fizzling out. We're hanging on to the cloud, though, through to this evening. Some breaks in the cloud mean the temperature could drop down to -2, so any moisture left on untreated roads and surfaces today from our rainfall could freeze. So some icy stretches, some patchy frost and some mist and fog overnight. For tomorrow morning, a chilly start. Eventually we should start to see some brightness. A dry day for Thursday and a maximum temperature similar at 4 Celsius. And that's your forecast.
The FA People's Cup with BBC Get Inspired.
John Motson has news from the park.
Sarah from Accounts, a newcomer to five-a-side football, has just hit an inspired last-minute screamer. It's Sheffield Thursday 1, Aston Villa 2.
Conor McNamara's at the Croft for the blind football match.
Dynamo Chicken Kiev have finally got the breakthrough. The crowd are inspired, and so are the players.
The FA People's Cup is a new five-a-side tournament for amateur teams and individuals with BBC Get Inspired.
Back to John Murray at the Rec.
A stunner from Avenue Road's 14-year-old striker. He only signed up this morning.
The FA People's Cup. To find out how you could enter for free,
I'm all
go
right,
to
thanks.
bbc.co.uk/getinspired.
Okay. Yeah, sure. What have we got?
You know coursers?
Yes.
Yeah, the front ends keep going.
Oh, and they keep going. Boy, oh boy, we've had loads of phone calls from people this morning telling us that they have had... it happened to a woman in Sainsbury's 3 times.
And we also heard from Lee, who earlier on told us about his car, his front end going on Friday, and his girlfriend being told the police wouldn't be investigating because it's really common.
Bedfordshire Police, yes.
Well, we've got this from Bedfordshire Police.
Oh, hey, good. They'll be telling us how common it is then.
Bedfordshire Police are warning Vauxhall Corsa and Zafira drivers to take precautions to protect their cars after 3 vehicles were targeted for parts in the last week.
Yeah.
The theft of car parts was a significant issue in Luton and Bedfordshire in early 2014, and substantial investigation was undertaken that led to the recovery of numerous stolen vehicle parts and a number of arrests.
Okay.
Reporting levels do not indicate that high numbers of this crime type are occurring in the area at present.
Well, hang on, 3 in a... Even if you've only got the 3 in a week... That's quite high. I would say that was a spike.
And it's not what Lee's girlfriend was told.
No.
However, there have been 3 incidents in the past week, and then it lists the 3 incidents, including the one that Lee's talking about in Birmingham.
Right.
As a precautionary measure, we're advising Vauxhall Corsa and Zafira owners and those with other high-performance vehicles, such as Astras and Insignia VXRs, to park their cars in well-lit areas and ensure that their car alarm's always switched on whenever it's parked, even on a drive or outside their house. Drivers could also use commercially available kits to property mark key parts of their vehicle to help us identify them if stolen and bring offenders to justice more rapidly.
Yeah, put fluorescent ink on your engines, guys. Well, as the guest said earlier on from the car fella, no one listens to car. No one's paid any attention to car alarms since 1997.
Does your car have an alarm? I don't think mine does.
It's got a little red light that flashes. I imagine that means that it's got something going on.
I don't think new cars had them. Now you've got immobilisers.
Am I right in saying I got told that car keys, you used to be able to buy a replacement car key at the shops in the 80s?
Oh.
Is that right?
I know people who've let themselves into other people's cars. It was the same model.
Yeah, yeah. When it was a proper key, like a door key. Yeah.
Barmy.
Yeah, I used to be able to do that a lot. There were certain makes that I think Minis you could get into other Minis because it was it was pretty much the same key. It was like a door key.
Or there were like 3-4 variations.
Yeah. Justin Dealey.
Boss, I famously took that one to the street, and you're absolutely spot on. I spoke to people about a year ago who went into various car parks thinking it was their vehicle. Yeah. Let's just say a Mini, BMW,
Let's
whatever.
Just say a Mini or a BMW,
okay. Yeah, and it happened to them. So you can actually, with some cars, you can get into another vehicle with your own key.
I know some people who got into the vehicle and tried to start it up. They were sitting there and thought, oh, where's my tape gone?
Yeah.
And that's when they realised they were in the wrong car.
Yeah. The best one, it's not a car, but the best one of walking through the wrong door, I think we did this as a phone-in, was when I was on Skiathos, a Greek island, and we were in this kind of little villa complex, loads of little apartments, and I burst in the afternoon and I went, "This is the FBI! You're all under arrest!" And I thought, this looks a little bit odd. I don't remember that suitcase. And then I heard a moan in the bed. I looked over, and it was some fella in a bed. I was in completely the wrong apartment. I was in the apartment next door, and I had to go, "I'm so sorry. This is the wrong room."
Oh, you didn't arrest him?
No, I did not arrest him. I wasn't actually official FBI at this point. Then that night we were at a wedding. And we sat down having dinner, and I turned to introduce myself to the couple next to me, as you do, and the guy went, "Yeah, we've met." I said, "Oh, no, I think you might recognise me because I've been on TV." He said, "No, we met. You burst into my room today pretending you were in the FBI." Oh, it was terrible.
And that's how you met your father-in-law?
That's brilliant. Dealey.
Yes.
Page 3. We've kind of moved the argument on from yesterday, and inspired by one caller who said, yeah, he'd be happy for his daughter to be old school Page 3, to get her boobs out and let everyone have a look at them. And I just think... I think if your daughter ends up doing that, you've gone wrong somewhere, because surely you should be able to bring them up with a moral code and just a sense of They're better than that. They've got more to give than that.
What if somebody's daughter's unemployed and they're earning absolutely no money at all? People have got to earn money, haven't they?
Yeah, not by getting their boobs out.
So just sit at home and do nothing then?
No, you can go and work in a supermarket. You can go and work. There are jobs out there that don't involve taking your top
The
off.
way you two talk about this is just fascinating. Nobody has got a gun to these girls' heads saying, you must do this. They want to do it. They're quite happy doing it.
No, that's what I'm saying. If your daughter is brought up to be happy doing that, then their moral code is skewed.
Do you read The Sun? Do you buy The Sun, boss?
No, mate, I don't buy it.
Do you buy it?
Do I?
No, exactly. Why are you moaning about it then?
We read it here.
I also think that it's too easy to assume that readers of The Sun, that's what they're buying it for. That's old-fashioned. There's more to The Sun reader these days.
I just want to say... R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Find out what it means to me. Yeah. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Then I don't know what she says after that bit.
Take out the TCP.
That's what she does say, does it? The medicine.
I think that TCP is very useful.
Oh, it's great for warding.
Though,
it does. She does say that. Doesn't take out the TCP.
Yeah, whatever that means.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Let's get her on the programme.
Sorry, Ben.
I think she means take out respect, but I don't know what that spells. So take out the TCP from
Hang on a minute. Let me get a pen. Right. How do you spell it? R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Take out the TCP. Well, you've got Resi.
Maybe she prefers Savlon.
Could be. Anyway, Justin, we're going off on a tangent there. You took this to the streets, boss.
Yeah, really awkward one this morning. Sometimes when I go on the streets, I tell people what I'm about to ask. I give them 30 seconds to think of their answer. Today, I just went straight in there. Would you be happy if your daughter was a topless model on page 3? Some of these answers might surprise you. Here's what people had to say. OK, I'm going to go straight in there with this question. How old's your daughter?
28.
How would you feel if she was a topless model on page 3?
I'd feel fine with that. I'd be absolutely fine.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
Why would you be fine with it?
Because I don't see anything wrong with it. It's just looking at something. She's not selling them. She's just literally showing a part of the body that's quite nice. If it's beautiful, why not?
So you don't mind men, dirty old men, picking up that paper, having a good old look at your daughter?
No, because they'll never meet her. No. She'll get plenty of money for that and then she'll leave it.
But would you be proud to, let's say, go to a family party with your daughter knowing what she does for a living?
I wouldn't say I'd be proud of it, but I'd be quite pleased with the money she'd earned, and if she got far ahead with the money she earned from it, I'd be happy with that.
Ash, I'm going to put a direct question to you. Again, please don't be offended by this question, but it's something we're talking about today. How many daughters have you got?
1.
And how old's your daughter?
She's actually in her 30s.
How would you feel if she said, Dad, I want to be a page 3 topless model? Would you be happy with that?
No.
You cough straight away there.
No, it's not just my scene, really.
Tell us why you wouldn't be happy with it.
Oh, it just demeans women, really.
So you've never looked at page 3 in your life?
No, but not deliberately. I mean, I wouldn't seek it out.
Not deliberately?
Well, I wouldn't seek it out. I mean, obviously somebody's looking at them, looking over somebody's shoulder or whatever, but it just doesn't do anything for me.
And if your daughter was to do it, I can clearly tell that you'd be highly offended.
She's not going to do it.
I mean, would you not talk to her again if she said, I want to be a page 3 model?
No, it's very unlikely she would do it, actually, to be honest.
But if she said, Dad, this is what I want to do you think you might not talk to her?
She has her own mind to make up, but she just isn't going to do it.
You made that very clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wouldn't like it because I know how I used to view page 3 girls, so I wouldn't like it at all.
No, I won't.
Tell me why.
Because that's not her identity. That's not what she will do. She will be very unhappy, and no, I don't agree.
But what if she was happy? What if she said, Mum, I'm really happy, this is what I want to do? How would you react then?
Well, I will have to talk to her. Well, I suppose if it's something her choice, but I will be a little bit against that.
Fair play, Just. Both page 3 girls do make a lot of money, don't they?
They do make a lot of money.
What are the figures?
I don't know how much the exact figures are.
Oh, because you were just saying that they made a lot of money.
Well, I'm sure they earn a lot more than what I do.
12 grand a year.
12 grand a year?
It's surprising, isn't it?
Well, where have you got that figure from?
I've got it from...
Google?
Yeah, from simplygorgeous.com. It's page 3 girls earn from around £12,000 a year. One model was getting £180 a shoot.
Right.
So
we're basing that on one website?
Well, as opposed to a guess, yeah.
Well, why don't we just ask a page 3 model to come on the show tomorrow and tell us? I'm sure she would tell us it's a lot higher than £12,000 a year.
Depends which one you ask.
It depends. If you're talking to I don't know any of their names anymore, you can earn a lot more than that. Of course
if you know their names, then that would suggest that they earn quite a lot. But there are plenty of girls who get chewed up and spat out.
Yeah, there are loads of girls you see in that. You see them once and that's it.
All right,
well,
so
that's 180 quid. Yeah,
£12,000 a year is better than nothing a year if that person's unemployed. It's their choice. It's what they want to do. I don't think anybody would want their daughter to be a page-3 model. But if it's their choice and they're living, well, surely you've got to support your children.
No.
So you don't support your kids?
Not if they make decisions like, look, we've got to go because it's the end of the show. I'll see you upstairs, Justin. We'll have this conversation in the office. Thank you. Finally, Kevin says, with changing attitudes in 2015, what would you say to a daughter who wanted to breastfeed in public? I'd say, go ahead because you're not sexualising your breasts.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
There are still hour-long queues on the M1 northbound from junction 14 for Milton Keynes to 12 for Flitwick because of the accident there that's closed 2 lanes. And northbound there are queues between junction 11 for Dunstable Road and 12 for Flitwick with people looking over to the opposite carriageway. It's causing queues on the diversion around Ridgemont. Station Road's looking very busy between Newport Road and Woburn because of those problems on the M1. And in Wendover on the A413 northbound, that's been blocked by another accident at Nashley Road. It's causing queues on both approaches from Risborough Road. And having a look at the trains at Belgrade to Anguilla have 15-minute delays into London Liverpool Street, and that's because of a passenger setting off a train alarm earlier. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Hey Samantha, thank you very much indeed. Don't forget, and I keep forgetting to remind me, we'll really sell this tomorrow between 7:30 and 8. On Friday mornings, between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, you can just rock up to the studio, knock on the door, and you come and sit in the studio with me and Kath. You don't need a skill, you don't need a talent, you don't need anything. Clothes, you need clothes, ideally. Back tomorrow at 6, ta-ta.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Ian. Good morning. Welcome to the JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon Smith. It's Wednesday, it's 9 o'clock, and on today's Big Phone In, do you want Britain to stay in Europe?